3, 2, 1. On my mark, we are live. Greetings and felicitations there, chat. Thank you very much for tuning in tonight. Today's show, we have some stuff planned. I don't really have a written outline, do I ever? And there's a YouTube logo in the corner of my screen. What's that about? Do I have to click on something? Like, why is it? Do you guys see a YouTube logo on that? Oh, I see. It's a restream thing. Okay, but let's get that YouTube chat on screen so that we can like see people say, "Go, go, go, Space Marines!" There we go. Go, go, girls, stripping down. Oh, thank you, David. I was actually concerned that I was going to start the show and not have audio. And yesterday I had to painstakingly adjust the volume knob on my amp on a knife's edge, and it was like either not loud enough or too low. And I'm sure James will return, just not unlike General MacArthur during World War II. When he left, he said, he left the Philippines, he goes, "I shall return." And they returned all right. And I wasn't looking to go into book reviews so quick, but I'll just briefly touch on a book called The Rising Sun by John Toland. And I've been reading this book for like weeks now. And it's a hell of a book because it gives you the Japanese perspective on things and the American perspective and the Filipino perspective. And basically, that's it. Like, you don't really hear much about anyone else in that book, which is fine by me. Like, I don't really care what the Russians... I mean, you do hear a little bit about Russians in there. You hear about Stalin, Roosevelt, and Churchill. Churchill was quite happy when Pearl Harbor happened because finally we would, provide him with the resources in earnest. But that being besides the point, why I'm bringing up the book. Why did I bring up the book? Oh, yeah, and it was just a cool segment in the book where... They were gonna, we were gonna retake the Philippines, right? It was the Japanese were running it, and a couple of guys had to come out, dive teams and stuff. They had to set up navigation lights on the top of mountains on islands, and when they got attacked, apparently the general or the guy in charge at the Philippines was not aware of the major loss at Saipan, if I read that correctly. And so yeah, they got their asses kicked at Saipan, the Japanese, because they had this really stodgy guy in charge over there, and he was like, of the mindset, you gotta oppose the Americans, you gotta oppose the invaders at the beach front. And so when that was failing, they just kept doing the bonsai attack, wave after wave of casualties as a result. And they gave us a bloody nose, all right, but they really got it because like Saipan was sort of like the capital city of Saipan was like a mini Tokyo. And they really, it was a bit of an awakening at that stage in the war. And of course, Saipan brought us within closer range of the mainland. Of course, you have Tinian. Tinian is the island where the nukes were launched off of B-29. So when we took Tinian, well, we didn't take it. Our nation took it. They, set up a very comprehensive air base. And that is where, of course, the B-29s that, attacked mainland Japan would be launched from. But that's a whole other topic. We got a real treat for you guys. Something not as depressing as war. What's up, when deep calls deep? Hope you're doing well. Good to see you. And I already said hello. Did I say hello to Chaos? I did not, but I say it now. Hello, Chaos. Thanks for tuning in. Monty Python. Ah, yeah, he's the guy who created the Python computer language, programming language. It might be worth running Ethernet to all the rooms and put in wall covers and stuff. Then you just connect. Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. You should do that. And if you don't run wall covers, that's all right. Just run the cable. Have it available. Maybe put like what I do in my bedroom is I have an 8-port switch underneath my TV and a game console shelf. So, in fact, I Velcroed the 8-port switch underneath the game consoles. And so we have 1 gigabit line going into that switch. And then it branches out to all the stuff attached to my TV, basically. Anything that can be wired is hardwired because when you do everything over Wi-Fi, you're literally creating competing interference. You're like, you're just creating more interference than you need. And so you're going to diminish the range and functionality of other Wi-Fi devices. And so if you can hardwire everything possible, then the devices that have to be wireless, or the devices that lend themselves to being wireless, such as smartphones, can perform that much better. And you can even hardwire a phone. I got like a couple of USB dongles. One of them even has built-in Ethernet, where it's like literally a thing with a USB-C connection on it on one side. You plug that into your laptop or phone, and then on the actual hub, or, you know, a little dongle, you have the place where you plug in your charger. So once you plug your charger into the dongle and you plug the dongle into your computer, now your computer is receiving electricity, you know, to charge the battery or whatever. But you also get an HDMI port, some extra USB ports, and a gigabit Ethernet port. And it's like, you can plug that shit into your phone, and your phone will actually, like an Android phone, I don't know about Apple, but on an Android phone, you'll have like pretty much proper gigabit network connectivity. And of course, the internet will only go so fast, but if you're uploading something to your internal LAN, you get very good speeds where you can like you could back up data without uploading it to the cloud per se. You could access shared folders on your Windows PC, and you certainly would get better performance uploading things online. You might get 300 megs per second, or maybe like something in the order of, you know, like maybe you get 50 megabytes or 300 megabits a second, give or take 100 here and there. I'm making up numbers here, but without hard numbers, we're just gonna roll with it. So anyway, I'm glad that James is, advocating for proper network connectivity. Although this makes me question that. But jokes aside, I'm sure he knows what's up. Hey, what up? Welcome up. Welcome back, James. Where do we take it? Hamburg? Well, that was on the other side, but the Japanese had a battle plan after Pearl Harbor. They were thinking about it. And the reason, I remember why I brought up the Japanese, because I hear people bitching and moaning. I got a video from San Antonio. David Glenn, give me a 10-minute warning before you go to bed, because I want you to see some footage from San Antonio. But before we go there, let's talk about the Japanese. Look, I say Japs, I don't mean anything by it. I love Japan. I really do. I respect that nation. I think they're cool. I'm a Japanophile, as you guys know. But I used to use the word Japs. I didn't know it was a racial slur. I literally didn't know. And, what was it? I'll give you one. Okay, you ever hear the term, this was popular in the 90s. Wait, how do I say it? Japanimation. Yeah, Japanimation. So it's saying Japan animation, but it's Japanimation. And I used to pronounce it Jap animation. So when I hear people on TV going, Jap animation, I'm thinking, oh, well, they're allowed to say Jap animation, therefore I can say it. And then later on I found out that you're not really supposed to say that. But I suspect the Japanese take it in stride, and with my prefacing and explanation, they probably wouldn't hold it against me, although I would not show up on their homeland using the term Jap or Japs. Anyway, let's get that clip ready. Where's the YouTube chat? I lost it. Here it is. I got a 1 gigabit. I love when people say gigabyte instead of gigabyte or gigabit. And bear in mind, we should definitely educate y'all right now, just for good measure. I'm sure most of you know about this, or many of you do. But let me just type in a search phrase, and I'll explain why this is important. All right. Gigabit versus gigabyte. So let's just say we do 1 gigabit to gigabyte, or oops, I misspelled megabyte. Okay, so number one, even I didn't type it correctly. That says megabit, but really I meant to type MB capital B, because believe it or not, lowercase b means megabit. And capital B means megabyte, but Google seems to be perfectly content in, giving me this. And you can even see, when you do this search query, you get this really cool menu here, this pull-down menu set up. And so bottom line is you can see how 1 gigabit translates into 125 megabytes. And so that's why when you copy a file to a locally networked computer, on Linux or Windows, it'll indicate that you're going to get anywhere from 90 to 112, maybe 120 megabytes per second, because that is what a gigabit is. And so, of course, logically, you might want to know, what is 100 megabit? Well, 100 megabit is essentially 12 megs a second, megabytes. So for all intents and purposes, we can just say that 100 megabit is 10 megabytes a second, and 1 gigabit is about 100 megabytes a second. Like, you know, you round it down because you're going to usually have some speed loss, so to speak, due to various factors. But yeah, just, you know, the more you know, as they say. And yeah, so a 10 gigabit connection is really a 1 gigabyte connection, just for reference. And generally speaking, you cannot, even if you have 2 gigabit network adapters on both ends, you're highly unlikely to saturate that bandwidth. Maybe you'll get like 300 megabytes, or, you know, like you'll get 3 gigabits out of 10 gigabits, let's say. But you're not going to saturate the full 10 gigabit. But what you might do is run a 10 gigabit line to your bedroom. Like over here, I could run a fiber optic cable to my bedroom and then have that go to a switch that breaks out. The reason I don't do that is because, one, I didn't get around to it, and two, it's really not necessary. One example is like if you put a network switch under your TV or behind your TV to run your game consoles, how often are you going to be running more than one game console at the same time? How often are you... Am I sharing my screen? Okay, good. How often are you going to be... Oh, where's my camera? You guys can't see me using my hands to describe shit. I feel like that camera angle is too small. I feel like I should be... Anyway, whatever. Yeah, so where was my brain? Let's see what the chat is saying. Yeah, hardliner. That's what she said. They still don't like us all that much over in Japan. Can you blame them? They don't like anybody except Brazilians. I think they like big butt Brazilian chicks. But jokes aside, I did not serve in the military, so I can't say I have much experience with that. But I know you did, so you probably actually have real experience with that. So I do appreciate your insight on that, Mr. Chaos. Howdy, awesome one. Howdy, sir. Sir, yes, sir. 1,000 Mega Man bytes. And then, of course, if you have a gigabit, that's really Mega Man X bytes. Knowledge is power. Greetings, Slim. Way back around the time I was born on Okinawa. Whoa, that's cool. I didn't know you were born on Okinawa. Now, that was a fucking bloody battle. 70,000 servicemen lost. Basically, the goal was to give us such a bloody nose that we might negotiate. But what kind of pushed the timetable up on nuking on the atomic bomb was that, you know, so some people, how do I phrase it? Like, I have a coworker, they think the two things I'm about to describe are mutually exclusive, but they're not. So my coworker says the Japanese did not surrender because of the atomic bombs being dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. They surrendered because it was either us or the Russians, and they did not want a Russian invasion. And there is truth to that. But the nukes definitely accelerated the timetable. You're not going to tell me... I mean, I did some research on it for one, but it makes sense that, like, you know, when you see something like that, that's going to affect the thought process of people, including Hirohito. And don't even get me started. Well, at some point, we should talk about Hirohito, because he's not a bad guy. You know, he's not really a bad guy. Like, you do have to dehumanize the enemy when you're actively in a war. Or at least I think it might help to prevent people from making, you know, bad moves or inadvertently not being aggressive enough, maybe. But Hirohito was not necessarily, in favor of the war. But once the entire, you know, civilian government was in agreement, and part of it was the military had disproportionate control of the civilian government. But once the civilian government demonstrated that they were all on board with doing this, the attack on Pearl Harbor, Hirohito was certainly willing to rubber stamp it, because essentially that is his role. It's like, if he felt that people were being controlled in such a way that was unnatural, he might not have been so inclined to rubber stamp that. But essentially, the emperor of Japan is the personification of the Japanese people. And, you know, he's not really in a position to counter the, you know, processes of that government. You know, it's like, it's not like a pure monarchy. And there is some extent where the imperial, you know, people did take advantage of the emperor in order to sort of legitimize their claim to power, so to speak. But that's a whole other, you know, topic. I'm not really trying to go down that rabbit hole too deeply. But let's see what James said. Way back around the time I was born on Okinawa, a serviceman had raped a woman, and the U.S. military would not. Yes, actually, I was watching a show on NHK, news program on. Geez, it's so long, man. Okay, I'll shrink the chat window when I'm done. It's not your fault, James. Just the way that this plugin is. See? Oh wait. Well, oh shit. Let me switch to this for a minute. Oh, that's better. I want to make sure I get the whole sentence. That's why I'm spurging out on this. I want to make sure we can see that this looks relevant. Ah, Jeebus Weebus. Okay, let me fix this. Oops, I clicked on the wrong shit in OBS. There we go. Way back around the time I was born on Okinawa, a serviceman had raped a woman. You know how many people on YouTube always like go rape? It's like, dude, you are entitled to your right to free speech. Use the fucking word. Words matter. Be accurate. Anyway, moving along. Thank you for using the correct words, James. I hate when people on YouTube like protect their revenue streams that are all like, I can't say that word. It's like, nah, you totally can. Anyway, and the U.S. military would not turn the guy over to face Okinawan justice. Apparently the situation was tense, rightfully so. Yeah, I did see a report about that. I believe they were seeking some reforms as of like 8 years ago, last I checked. I don't know what the status of that is, but that is pretty much, that's a worthwhile topic. And the thing is, I think Okinawa was pretty much under U.S. control until the 70s, 1972, when they put out a referendum. And the people, you know, I don't know if they were even inclined to be under Japanese rule necessarily, but they chose Japanese rule over American rule, which is totally understandable, you know. Although we still maintain a crap ton of bases there, and I'm sure there's some mutual benefit, and I'm sure there's some sticking points in there, you know. If you stick a fork in a light socket, power can be knowledge. Or you can lose knowledge in the process. Man, I remember when we moved from the floppy disk to the hard disk floppy, and I was thinking, I can't imagine ever needing any more memory than a couple of megabyte disk can offer. You clearly were not downloading anime JPEGs on dial-up. Nah, jokes aside, though, yeah, for a while, I mean, I maybe I got in a little bit late using computers, but started when I was 7. Not that I knew much, but not right away at least. But at some point, we were running a laptop of 1 gig hard drive and as a family computer, and a zip drive with 100 megabyte cartridge. Or basically, they're like, if you crack open a zip disk, it looks just like a floppy, you know, like a 3.5 inch floppy, but in a thicker, rugged, you know, enclosure, so to speak. And at some point, we had a Jazz drive, 1 gigabyte cartridges, which if you open up one of these, it's like a removable hard disk drive platter. So it's like, it's a cartridge, and when you open up the slider, you literally see a pair of hard disk platters. So they were a bit more failure prone because, you know, it takes a lot, but the concept was not unprecedented. It was just more compact than any version of that type of technology prior to it. And it was kind of cool, like, knowing that you had the entire capacity. Like me having, like, I have my 15 terabytes, 14 and a half terabytes, 16, let's just say. We'll round it up just to make it sound bigger. So I have my 16 terabyte RAID volume. Imagine if I had that all on a single piece of media. That would be kind of cool. Blu-rays only top out at, like, 100 gigs, I believe. You know, and that's, like, on a 6-layer Blu-ray disc. Hey, what's up, Sherry? Good to see you. Thanks for dropping in. Sherry's a cool cat with a cool avatar. That's a cool avatar. I love that. Look at that. It's like some kind of kimono. Girl with a sword, eagles, birds. I don't know what type of birds they have in Japan. Yeah, the book is very good. I recommend it. That is The Rising Sun. Wait, was it? Let me double check that. I don't want to give you the wrong title. Yes, I was correct. The Rising Sun by John Toland. So it's like T-O Land. And it says in the caption, the decline and fall of the Japanese Empire, 1936 to 1945. And essentially, they had like, there was, what was it, January, I forgot the date, September something, I think. They had like a big coup. It's very easy to Google it. Not trying to go into a Japanese rabbit hole right now, but very interesting. I mean, I already kind of went down the rabbit hole, haven't I? And, yeah, basically, like, there was a time in Japan where it was like, if you assassinated someone, but you had a good reason to do it, like, it was sort of like, it would get forgiven. It was some crazy shit like that. And that was one of the things that I think we sought to fix, sort of people in positions of, you know, doing stuff, diplomats, lawmakers, whatever. Whoever drafted the Japanese Constitution, they set out to prevent that sort of thing from happening again. I never experienced it, but I heard enough stories from other sailors to get the general idea. Or the lieutenant idea. Okay, I know that's a corny joke. The estimated U.S. military losses was around 100K, and the war had gone on a long time. The U.S. government was not sure if the American people would have tolerated those losses. Like, exactly. You go for another, like, 300,000, 500,000. Yeah, it's tricky, you know? Hey, I got someone on a different platform. Oh, shit. Are you one of those fucking people trying to sell me something or get me scammed? I always get this gay shit. Part of my language to people who are gay, it's okay to be gay. But I always get this dumb shit where, like, you know, someone kicks like, oh, hey, I'll sell you some graphic design services. Like, look, I apologize if I offended you. But... yeah, Discord, man, I've heard horror stories. I'm gonna sound like a boomer right now. You know when, like, a boomer is like, don't you download software on my computer? You know, and, like, or something like that. But what I mean is, like, I've heard horror stories where a friend would get a message on Discord from a familiar name. And they'd click on it being like, oh, it's my friend Jimbo. And then they fucking get their account hacked. And by hacked, I mean compromised by whatever means. And, you know, then it's a pain in the ass. Then you call Discord support, and they're like, oh, we're going to close the ticket because we're useless. And that's basically how Discord apparently handles these things. So it's like, you got to be in the driver's seat of your security in Discord. And part of that means not engaging strangers unless they can throw out some evidence that they're not a scumbag or a scammer or that they are friendly and not just trying to make money. I feel like the chat thing is unusually large today, by the way, guys, because again, normally, I don't know, like that. I'm going to just shrink it manually like that, okay, for now, because that's too big. There we go. I appreciate the message nonetheless, because by receiving this message from Kenny6S, I can at least resize my chat box appropriately to ensure that everyone can see the messages. Word perfect. I did install Word. I did. I do remember it was large. I remember when I installed, like, later on after, you know, I had my own computers, I installed it. It was like 200 megabytes, and it added up pretty quick on a 1 gig hard drive. But yeah, I mean, it was a good software, though. I mean, Corel did some good stuff, although I don't know if we use Corel Draw. We use Corel Word Perfect and the PowerPoint equivalent. Yep. I mean, feel free to send me a message, Kenny. You know, if it doesn't look nefarious, I'll respond. But if you're trying to sell me something, just play it straight. Tell me what you're selling. I might, who knows, maybe I'll be interested, you know? Like, just lay it out there. And it's just fucking annoying. I'm about to quit Kick. I'm done with fucking Kick. I'm done with it. I swear, fucking Kick is whack. It's not really whack. I mean, it is a little bit, like, annoying to set up streams on Kick because I always have to go into... In fact, I guarantee you that the title of the stream on Kick is last week's date because you have to go directly into the website to update the stream. And it's sort of like Rumble, except it takes an extra step to do the setting up, in my opinion. Or, I don't know. Anyway, it's different. But I'll tell you, like, just to not get these messages alone, I think I'm done with Kick. Although maybe they have a spam filter. I'll check the spam filter settings. Maybe I'll set up Kick to like make it so that only subscribers can, you know, send me messages or something like that. That is super cool. Berserk Shuri, the gaming girl, Japanese style. Dueling was common in the Congress, I think. Probably. That's another badass thing about the Japanese soldiers. Like, they had their fucking samurai swords, right? Going into combat. So when things were really desperate, like, if someone was interested in still doing the bonsai charge, they would use their sword. I mean, that's cool. That's actually what inspired Sidonia no Kishi, Knights of Sidonia, in my observation. Because in Knights of Sidonia, they have these things called kabi or kabishi. I can't believe I can't remember the name right now. But the kabi is a material that is able to pierce the core of a iguana. Iguana is sort of like an alien monster thing, sort of like the angels from Evangelion, Neon Genesis Evangelion. And at some point, they build these new artificial kabi, so they no longer had to harvest the material. They can make their own artificial material for these spears. And when they freaking do it, and greetings, the Peter Venkman fan site. Hope you're doing well. Wait, which one happened to Makini? I know he's streaming right now. I think he's doing the Gaming Awards right now, by the way. So, you know, if you guys get bored, check out Makini. He's doing a good show, I think. You know, it's pretty entertaining. So, yeah, they freaking, like, decided to make a bunch of samurai swords out of the kabi. So now the pilots, the guard pilots, they are equipped, you know, with the large weaponry. You know, it's a mech, like Gundam, so to speak, or any kind of mech. But also, if you do get stuck outside of your mech, you have this seemingly ceremonial sword, but it's not really ceremonial, because not only is it a sword, but it can actually pierce the monstrous alien. So if you're within enough proximity of the monstrous alien, you're probably already dead. But it actually gives a fighting chance to the warrior who wields that weapon. So I thought that was kind of cool. I lost the chat window. Oh, here it is. I see that's Restream. That's YouTube Studio. This is the chat. Wait, can we do that? I can do chat overlay? Okay, I have to set that up. Oh, I see how this works. Hey, that's cool. Restream has a chat overlay feature that we can set up in OBS. I don't think I'm going to do it right now, but it's kind of cool. You can copy and paste all of this crap, and it'll look like this on the screen. Maybe I'll make it into a background image. Like, you know, I know people who they have a background image with the chat log behind them. That's not a bad idea. I might go that route at some point, but right now I'm okay with doing this for now. And what up, some person? How you doing? I hope you're doing well. So anyway, speaking of the thing I want to show you guys, let's get my headphones on. Actually, do I need my headphones? Can I just put on my speakers and then not wear headphones so I can be fashionable? Let's try it out. All right, so this is about the Bataan Death March. This is about who was held accountable. Was anyone held accountable for the Bataan Death March? Who knew about it? It's just a bunch of blah, blah, blah. Motherfucker. Pardon my language. as I was saying, I was just saying how people get their panties in a bunch about you know, the Nanjing incident, and like it's like, you know, it's like when people want the Pope to apologize, or when the Pope apologizes for the Inquisition. It's like, dude, that was hundreds of years ago. Does it really matter if the Pope apologizes for it now? And same thing with Nanjing. It's like, you know, so what I was saying while I was muted was that sometimes it's not Friday. Oh yeah, it is Friday now. It is Friday now, yeah. But anyway, but it was Thursday when I started the show. Anyway, when I started it later than planned. Although, as you see, I didn't start at 10:45. I set the schedule for 11:05, and I was still late. See, that's like, I knew I was going to be late. I was hoping I wouldn't be that late. Anyway, so how do I these headphones? I'm trying to like not mess up my hair. That's why I'm wearing them funny. Anyway, yeah, it was a shitty thing, Nanjing, no doubt about it. The Japanese soldiers who perpetrated things really pushed it over the top. The question I guess I would have is, was it systemic? Like, was it, you know, was it from the top down? Did people receive orders from their chain of command saying, make sure you rape and brutalize every civilian possible? And as it turns out, there were orders from the top that basically said not to do that. Well, let's just watch the video, because I think the lady in the video does a pretty good job of explaining what I already read in of the, you know, write-ups. So before I do play it back, I'm going to read the text. Although there had been many atrocities perpetrated by Japanese forces over thousands of miles and in several occupied territories, the atrocities of Nanjing drew special focus due to their brutality. Prisoners were tortured and slaughtered, and several thousand of... Oh, this is one of those videos that doesn't go into proper full screen. So I recently discovered something. If I take a non-ultra widescreen video and I put it into a full screen on this monitor, it like crops the bottom of that crap. How annoying is that, huh? I don't know if that's a unique issue, or if it's just a Firefox thing, or if it's something that is related to something else. But anyway, we'll just put the little pop-out window. Oh, that's cool. It does the always on top thing. I'm just going to keep Venkman's message. I just love the face palm. Anyway. After the war, it was largely due to his involvement in the atrocities of Nanjing that a high-ranking Japanese official was charged with war crimes and prosecuted in Tokyo, Japan, at the International Military Tribunal for the Far East, also known as the Tokyo Trial, or Tokyo-burg, you know, like Nuremberg, or Nurinkyo. You know, like if you took Nuremberg and Tokyo and combined them, it would be Nurinkyo. Anyway, a general's responsibility, Matsui, Nanjing, and the Tokyo Trial. So when does Nanjing become Nanking, and when does Nanking become Nanjing? Because I see both spellings. By the way, just to give you the answer, yes. So it was two guys that basically took credit or received blame for it. It was where was it? Matsui. That was two guys. Okay, I can't remember the anyway. Matsui and Asaka. Prince Asaka remained on the Supreme War Council until the end of 1945. Promoted to the rank of general. Well, and we'll just watch the video. I remember there was two names. Basically, yeah, Matsui and some other guy. Hey, what's up, Dad, man? Walking. Hope you're doing well today. Good to see you.
Individuals who were specifically prosecuted for what happened.
Oh, I'm sorry. I got to raise the volume on this. It's really low. I can see that in the OBS. Here, okay, we're going to goose it up. Ready, guys? Hopefully we don't blow out anyone's eardrum.
So there were two individuals who were specifically prosecuted for what happened in Nanjing. The first was the foreign minister, Hirota. Secondly was Matsui, who was originally the commanding officer of the region, who was later sort of promoted out of that position. Both individuals were convicted, and the tribunal grappled with the fact that neither one was there, present, when this was happening, and both apparently tried to mitigate. General Matsui issued orders in advance of the invasion of Nanjing that civilians were to be spared, that the city was not to be damaged beyond what was necessary in terms of military necessity. that combatants were to be taken prisoner.
We got
and held as
LCX
prisoners
here?
of war,
Where?
not to
Oh,
be
there's
exterminated.
LCX.
It's unclear
Greetings.
whether
Hope you're
those
doing well.
orders reached his troops or not. If they did, clearly they were not followed. There is also an order that has been found
Pretty
and is
decent.
in the record saying that all combatants should be massacred, that no prisoners of war should be taken. It turns out that may have been a forged order. It's not clear who that order came from. But that was the order that was ultimately carried out. Then, after the fact, General Matsui did actually
fucked
enter
up.
the city on, I think, December 17th, several days after the city had fallen, in a sort of triumphant, celebratory procession. And his diary recounts that at first it seemed like it was a major victory. But slowly it dawned on him the atrocities that had been committed in connection with that invasion. And his diary is anguished about what he's learning, about what happened. And he's quite conflicted about this. And there's also reports that apparently he was demanding that individuals needed to be held accountable and that atrocities needed to stop. Nonetheless, he was the one who ultimately stood trial at Tokyo. And his own testimony was conflicted. On the one hand, he tried to argue that he did what he could and he issued orders that were, encouraging people to be treated fairly and not to destroy the city and this and that. But he essentially refused to throw the imperial family under the bus. He didn't implicate anyone else in these atrocities and in fact tried to deny and undercut the seriousness of them. And so he took the fall and he was executed.
I'm not sure what part was different, but I'd definitely be curious, Dad, man,
to this day, are
if
not
like there's a
really
specific
sure
part you
how
homed in on.
responsible
I'd be
he
curious
was.
about where you're coming from. At least in my summary of it, and unfortunately, I wasn't paying as close attention to the video we were just watching as everyone else was, because I watched it earlier today. And I don't know if this is the correct understanding. I'm still studying it. I'm still looking to get other sources. But essentially, I'm inclined to absorb contrarian sources, but just because something's a contrarian source doesn't make it valid, right? It's like sort of like, well, it's like anything else, but sometimes people, they don't trust the mainstream sources, so if something's a contrarian source, it gets a lot more clout. I'm not really inclined, that's not really with my sensibilities either, but at the same time, ad nauseum, I do know that the Japanese were brutal in Nanking. In my history classes, they never really talked about, who gave the orders, what the orders were, where the orders came from, etc. But essentially, it sounded to me that, as this lady recorded it, they threw those two guys under the bus, especially Matsui, and that he may not have issued the order, and that the order that was issued, which, it basically asked people to be brutal, asked the soldiers, and ordered the soldiers to be brutal, that order may not have been a real order. So, of course, I guess, how do you prove a negative? And follow-up research would take the form of, investigating that claim, right? Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. I'm still profoundly ignorant of the details on the matter. I know the original story. I know this version that I was already brought up on. My mom, read plenty about it, and my mom was well read on a lot of this history stuff. So, I know the boilerplate version of it, but, I just figured I'd see if there's any other angles, because what I'm starting to see is that it wasn't necessarily like from the emperor top down. Now, was it Tojo? Okay, so you had the emperor and you had Tojo. Tojo was the prime minister, and before Pearl Harbor, he was chosen as the prime minister because the hope was that he'd be able to be a bridge between the civilian government and the military, which pretty much was running the government at that point. Albeit a civilian government, the military had a lot of clout in that government and in that administration. Hirohito was basically at times under fear of getting assassinated. In fact, even like when half the Supreme Council, whatever they're called, I think they were called the Supreme Council, decided that it was time to surrender after Nagasaki. There was a revolt where they surrounded the Imperial Palace, and things could have gotten really dicey there. But in the end, what I was saying before was, what wasn't mutually exclusive was that Japan surrendered. Now, I'm skipping too far ahead. I got to go back to Nanjing in a second. Was partially because of the nukes and partially because they did not want to get conquered by the Russians. And if there was a protracted land, land battle or protracted land invasion, that, potentially could have meant, the Russians invading from the north, us invading from the south, and God, it would have been just like that fucking shit in Berlin, where we had to split the spoils with, East Berlin, West Berlin, you get the idea. But anyway, let me get back to chat here. Where's this lady coming up with this stuff? It's completely contrary to what I've learned from the historians I trust and how Chinese that lived through it felt about Japan after the war. Taking the fall was very like the cultural influences at the time. Very Shogun to give their life for the emperor at all costs. That's the thing, like a lot of times they were like, there was a lot of things, a lot of orders issued, like, for the pride of the emperor, for the honor of the emperor, all this, emperor stuff, and the obedience therein. Lol, that's silly. I'd also be curious about which facet of that is silly, L. Just to make sure I'm on the same page. I'm sure I missed something. Here we are. Oh yeah, I did read Dadman's chat. Okay, thank you. Very Shogun to give their life for the emperor. Yep, I agree. That Japanese practiced germ warfare against China in the run-up to World War II. There's videos on the Scrooge tube. That's interesting. I'll check that out sometime. Hey, look, I don't doubt that they did some crazy shit. I mean, plenty of countries done some crazy shit in war, in the prosecution of war. The question is, to what extent was the civilian government in the loop on it? And of course, it's also an interesting exercise to figure out who is thrown under the bus militarily and who is, involved but not thrown under the bus. Because I think we've seen times where like people get thrown under the bus who are not responsible, and those who were responsible kind of like manage to squeak by. Like I said, I'm nowhere near understanding this in great detail. Hopefully I will be in. I can tell you about submarines. That I'm somewhat well versed in, but this I may be like, I've scratched the surface and that's about it. I have not exceeded scratching the surface on this topic. I don't think the Japanese military was big on taking prisoners, period. They were certain that they could defeat both China and the USA at the beginning of the war. Well, when you say the Japanese military, like, are we talking about the chain of command? Are we talking about the upper echelons? Now, interestingly, I'm starting to see evidence that I've already, weeks ago, I saw evidence that Yamamoto was a bit of a prima donna. There was a point in time where he threatened to resign if they didn't carry out his plan. And bullshit like that is not helpful for, military, operational readiness or military, it's not conducive to, running a proper campaign. You got to trust your advisors, your teammates, other qualified people. You can't have one guy, being all stuck up about shit. Now, Yamamoto was still interesting because he understood our industrial might. What school did he go to? He went to like one of our universities, I think. What school did Admiral Yamamoto go to? Okay, so he did the Japanese Naval Academy. No shit, Sherlock, but I'm pretty sure he went to an American university. Or he spent time... Okay, there we go. He did Harvard. So yeah, Admiral Yamamoto did study at Harvard. And I do remember reading that. I'm not just going by the Google results. I just needed to kind of confirm which American university he went to. But he was familiar with our industrial might. But that being said, when issued the order to do the thing... He was a loyal subject, a loyal officer, to his own nation. And his hope, of course, was that he would, basically knock out our Pacific Fleet in its entirety in such a way that it would force us to come to the bargaining table once more. Now, a few factors kind of got in the way of that plan. For one, they did not sink the entire fleet. There was some ships that were sort of out doing other things, including a carrier, one of the better carriers out there, that was stuck in a storm, and that sort of saved them from being stuck in Pearl Harbor waiting to be, fish in a barrel. Okay, did I miss anything in the chat? Let's see here. No worries, Mr. Dadman. I'm sure in time I'll have more thoughts on this. Hopefully I'll have a more nuanced view, or maybe just more information that I could bring to the table, or perhaps I'll be able to better interpret your comment as I absorb new material. So I'll probably copy and paste it into some kind of note file for my own reference, just so I can kind of like work with that, if that's all right with you. You know, just using like the text in your earlier chat and just kind of using it like, kind of like just rolling with the research and seeing like, you know, okay, let's look at it from this angle, you know. So I do appreciate your input. It's too big to type here, but there was a huge cultural superiority of the Japanese military against other races in Asia and other races in the world. Eastern prosperity sphere, just a huge topic. Yeah, true, you know, I'm getting that impression, and I guess I'd like to understand, like, you know, to what extent was it a partnership, and then to what extent it was conquest, you know? So sometimes I'm the kind of person I have to read books twice to really get them. So first time I read it, I'm, you know, enthralled, I'm learning shit, but it's not until a subsequent read that I can actually remember names of people. So right now, like, there's names like when I mentioned Matsuri, like, yeah, he came up in the book, but unless I looked that video up, I would not have remembered that name. So it's kind of like where I'm at. I should probably take advantage of the bookmarks in the Kindle and Audible audiobooks more frequently. Hey, what up, Curtis? Good to see you, man. Curtis YZ reacts. Usually prisoners are taken for the purpose of trading prisoners in a protracted war. That's part of it. So this thing, so with the Bataan Death March, as I understand it at this point, you know, I mean, I've always remember learning in social studies class in middle school that it was a brutal fucking affair. No doubt about it, you know? And other accounts I read of it was basically you had some people that had the worst go of it. You know, like, I mean, Japanese soldiers being superbly brutal to them. And the logic being applied to explaining that, you know, it doesn't justify it, but some of the logic that applied to that would be that in the Japanese military, if you know, didn't have your shoelaces tied correctly, if you're schlong, apparently, like, your wiener had to be on the left side of your trousers. So when you're being inspected, they probably go, hey, your wiener is not on the left side of your trousers. But, you know, they had specific rules. But my point is that, like, it wasn't uncommon for a officer of higher rank to just slap you across the head, sort of like Noah Bright on Mobile Suit Gundam when he does the Bright slap. That apparently comes from some kind of Japanese military tradition. And so when the Japanese are taking charge of prisoners and some of the, you know, lesser officers are put in charge of different groups of prisoners, their mindset is, or you're a prisoner, you're of a lesser rank. And this does not justify being a dick, but in their mindset, it's like, okay, someone of higher rank slaps me, and if an American doesn't listen to me, I slap them. American, or I believe the Bataan Death March had Americans and Filipinos, probably Chinese in there too, if I had to guess. And that's an interesting part of the book I read, the same book. Because during the Bataan Death March, you know, people who didn't have food, people, you know, who would get disgorged from the train to take a piss or drink some water, the Japanese were not providing, you know, all of that to all of the people on that march, you know, as you can imagine. And so the Filipino people, many of them were on the side of the road or at the train stations hooking it up for people, you know, like giving people eggs, giving people, you know, water to drink, you know, just like I said, hooking up a brother, so to speak. And so a lot of Americans who didn't necessarily have, you know, as much respect for the Filipino people, you know, saw people with courage, saw people who were cool, looking out for them. And you also had the resistance movement, which I don't know if there's any books about the resistance movement, but that would be cool to read about. I have no idea. I have not even gotten close to scratching the surface on that facet yet. Like I said, I read about battles at Saipan, Tinian, what extravaganza. Of course, Midway is like one of the earlier ones. You know, I guess in chronological order, I'm skipping a ton of stuff. Doolittle Raid, Pearl Harbor, the Doolittle Raid, Midway, skip a few. Saipan, which is now the Northern Marianas Islands, Tinian, and somewhere in between Tinian and Okinawa, I think we did the Philippines and then did Okinawa, if I remember correctly. But yeah, there's definitely like a lot. Like I'm trying to exposit, and initially I was only interested in the diesel submarines. You know, like I just think it's kind of interesting. You know, like being on this like dingy boat that mostly has to run on the surface by night to charge its batteries and submerge by day to evade the enemy, or especially if you're going to conduct an attack by day or night, you're going to submerge the boat and, you know, carry out your torpedo attack. And that was the story I was looking for, because I knew about the German U-boats in pretty good detail. I didn't really know anything about American attack subs or fleet subs, so that's something that I found kind of interesting to read about, and how, you know, we were harassing the Tokyo Express Japanese supply lines and all of that jazz, and just going after any of the targets of opportunity. And the weird thing about the American fleet subs, the American diesel submarines, was they were plagued with torpedo issues. I think we talked about that last week. No, we did not. I played a game that involved that. I did not upload it. But one of these days we'll go into detail on that. Because I do want to get to the video of say, hey, ho, 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 hey, what up? Well, the only show better than the Game Awards is Makani Draws. And the only show better than Makani Draws... Oh, no, wait, let me say it again. The only show better than the Game Awards is DJ Ronnie G. And the only show that might be better than mine would be Makani's Game Awards show. Oh, he's wrapping it up. Oh, sorry. That was loud. Hey, my camera's off. There we go. Now we can play the song. I'm going to imitate Trump dancing.
For free tickets to the next Marketing Live show, visit youtube.com.
That's a hot voice. That's a hot voice. Anyway, okay, I'm sorry. Let's get back on topic here. I'm easily distracted. But he did good work with the voiceovers. Whoever's doing the voice or whatever AI tool he's using. I'm not sure which one it is, but he's doing a good work with the voices. I lost the YouTube chat. Oh, here it is. But it is great seeing you, Whooper Trooper. I hope you're doing all right, Whooper. I salute you. Ah, yes, that's a relevant topic. Hey, what up? Oh, there we go. I didn't see your earlier messages. I'm probably going to skip a number of chat messages here. I do see the link, Slim. We'll hold on to that for later. Is this Yoko Ono? Oh, cool. Reading Rainbow. Good. We're going to keep that handy. That's fantastic. Where is it? Oh, here we are. Believing in some source is correct because it contradicts popular opinion is silly. I agree. I don't believe that you should just believe a source is correct because it disagrees with popular opinion. But I guess, you know, after 2020 and even before 2020, I see a lot of popular narratives that have major flaws in them. And that's actually a funny thing you mentioned. So it is silly just to automatically, you know, think something's correct because it contradicts the popular source. But at the and like I literally seen this in 2020, right? Well, like, there were people who would often be like-minded with me, and then they'd say something that I would consider to be pretty dumb. And somehow they adopted what I would consider to be disagreeable or uninformed because, you know, it went against the popular opinion, you know, or, you know, whatever the state was promoting, whatever, you know, different organizations were promoting. You know, like, just because... I don't really want to go into the 2020 thing in too much detail. I hate to get myself blacklisted. But, like, I could disagree with the city of New York mandating that employees get a certain, you know, shot, while also still agreeing with germ theory. And I stumbled into a lot of people who were perpetuating the germ theory is not real thing, that germs don't exist. And this is the weird thing that I found about 2020 was, like, the like there's this guy, he's like a fucking, what's his name, Dr. Andrew Kaufman. What a jerk off. This guy goes around, he's like a psychiatrist, and he goes around like perpetuating that germs aren't real, and somehow the algorithm does not shoot him down. Oh yeah, and I gotta drop a link to my boy Aris, Aris218, because a few weeks ago I told people to check out Aris or Arus, and I misspelled his name as Aris278. It's actually Aris218. He's a friend of L and I and many others who tune in, including Slim. Slim is a friend of Aris. So yeah, he's a cool cat. But anyway, where's my brain? But yeah, you get the idea. So yeah. Bottom line is that I think it's important to be discerning. And so, like, just like the flat Earth thing, I'll just touch on briefly. Is like, just because there are times you don't trust mainstream opinion on scientific matters, or you feel that things are contrived at times, it doesn't automatically make the flat Earth thing valid, or the moon landing. Just because like the government, the U.S. government at least, adopted a bunch of Nazis through Operation Paperclip, doesn't automatically make NASA a Nazi organization, or it doesn't mean that what NASA does is bullshit. It's like, we built a Saturn V rocket. It definitely was built using U.S. taxpayer dollars and deficit. And von Braun, by that point, was indeed an American citizen. He probably wasn't he was not one of the hardened Nazis at all. Now, did we hire some hardened Nazis under Operation Paperclip? Probably. Von Braun's people, I would hope they were all pretty much just rocket scientists. However, apparently another facet of Operation Paperclip was the CIA and things like MK Ultra. I have not read into it too much, but point is that just because you have a bunch of scumbags inducted into the CIA working on some psychological or mind control experiments doesn't mean that we have to throw out the baby with the bathwater. Like, it doesn't mean that the moon landing was fake, or that the entire NASA apparatus is up to no good because of that, that infusion of what I would call brain trust. Brain trust. Like, almost like currency. Knowledge is a currency. However, the USA kind of goaded Japan into the war by enacting an oil embargo against Japan. I suspect that is why Japan uses so much nuclear power instead of coal or oil or natural gas generators. That's a big factor. Absolutely a big factor. And that's the thing, like when their supply lines got choked up finally, especially when the Philippines was liberated, Japan was not getting any more oil, into their mainland. So they started doing things like taking pine needles and making fuel out of that. They had what was that thing called when you use like wood gas generator or wood gas turbine? There's like a special like weird method of making smoke out of wood and making that into a fuel substance of its own. But anyway, I think we should look at videos of San Antonio right after we skim through the chat. Indeed, Slim, Turtle Power. Seen discussions on POW treatment, and the Japanese military looked down on prisoners because they viewed it as unthinkable to ever surrender. Look at the small amount of surrenders by Japanese forces. That is a factor too. And there were some who did not surrender. I mean, there were some who did surrender. There were some who laid low. There was a couple of cases where like a soldier had to surrender on an island. I think like even Saipan, like there was a guy who surrendered like many weeks after the battle was over, like even after the Hiroshima bombing. I think a guy surrendered. There's like a photograph I looked at like while I was at work the other day where a Japanese soldier is surrendering his sword to a U.S. soldier and voluntarily surrendering. But it took some like doing it. It was like, hey buddy, the war's over. Hey look, here's the order from the top brass telling you to surrender or that it's all over. Then there was another guy. He was hanging out on some island in the chain somewhere in the Philippines, I think on the western side. I forget which island. And he kind of like, he had a whole group of guys with him. And in the end, he was the only guy left. But he was also kind of responsible for killing like dozens of people. So that's kind of fucked up. And the villagers would be like, hey, buddy, the war's over. And he's like, you're lying. And like eventually like he gets repatriated to Japan. And apparently he got put in charge. He became like a leader or a member of some ultra-conservative party. Now, I don't know what conservatism looks like in Japan compared to American conservatism, but they got a pretty interesting platform, whatever it was, and that's something that maybe we'll touch on for fun sometime. But they also kind of like, they want to have, a military back, but thing of that is like, you don't need to have a political party looking to have a military in Japan. I mean, their JSDF is pretty well equipped right now, and if real war was to break out, knock on wood, I suspect that it would be very easy to kind of make some kind of agreement to sort of let the Japanese expand on things. But also they kind of have a shit ton of our bases peppered throughout their country, so I mean, especially Okinawa, ton of bases there. What was it, Yokohama? I don't know. Osaka, yeah, there's naval bases there. Anyway, seen discussion on POW treatment. Oh yeah, I read this already. I'm sorry. And that is true. I did read that. Yeah, if that's accurate about Yamamoto and the importance of a quick victory. Japanese army was originally against Midway until the Doolittle. Yes, thank you. Oh, thank you. You're helping me remember stuff. The Japanese army was originally against Midway until the Doolittle raid, which showed they were vulnerable. And in a way, like, the Doolittle raid goaded them into, you know, putting resources into Midway, and that was like an early death knell. And the recurring theme I'm reading about is that after Midway, there are different points in time where the goal is to have a decisive naval engagement. You know, like the goal being like to just kick our asses. And then like at each decisive naval engagement, it doesn't quite pan out. And then finally, the goal is like, we're going to get our asses kicked at the Philippines and we'll die honorably. I mean, I'm not sure if they were all on board with that, but that was sort of like a prevailing thought at that point in the war, as I understand it. Like, nobody wanted to be like the odd man naval ship standing without an honorable death in battle. Sort of like the Klingons going to Stavokor. Surrender was considered without honor and therefore forbidden by Bushido Warrior Code. Yes, plus I have a source that I can send you via Twitter DM. Please do. That rocks. Oh yeah, it used to be like if you became Ronin, you were obligated to get revenge for your master. They wanted to change that once they broke isolation. Cool. Now I'm catching up with the chat. Good. We're getting some interesting stuff here. Okay, even the USMC Marine Corps was not even that particular. Indeed. My grandfather, a Filipino, and I appreciate your insight. I'm glad you're chiming in on this, L. My grandfather, a Filipino rebel. Oh, kick ass, a rebel. Anyway, okay, so I read that already. Okay. My grandfather, a Filipino rebel, said that the Koreans were the most cruel among the Japanese soldiers. Interesting. I have a Korean friend, and I remember I mentioned, you know, Japan and Japanese anime and how great Gundam is. And she was just like, oh, the fucking Japanese are the worst. And she like really unloaded about how bad the Japanese were. And I'm sure people in Korea did not have a good time. But this is an additional angle that I might have questions about, or that I may just have to, now that I have some keywords, I'll Google it, look at other sources, of course, find some, you know, books or something like that. But interesting. I didn't think of it that way. I didn't even, not that it didn't occur to me, but that the Koreans were the most cruel among the Japanese soldiers. So does that mean they were cruel towards the Japanese soldiers, or that they worked, I guess they were cruel among them, yeah? Oh, excuse me. Soldier, your tool is falling at the wrong angle. Oh boy, yeah, we talk about that. Report for extra duty and re-education. My active stylus just arrived. I'll try it out next stream. Oh, speaking of which, where's my active stylus? I got an active stylus. This is the one for my laptop. Yeah, so this is a Dell laptop. I bought it. Oh, like a Punk Waddle sticker. Yeah, it's my boy Punk Waddle. We're going to see him. If you guys stick around, we're going to have a video from San Antonio with Punk Waddle's puppet in it in a moment. So this laptop here, I bought it because my friend gave me a really good deal, and it had an 8th generation Intel i5. So that was like the main reason why. It's like, I mean, like, I didn't need an i7, but having 8th generation is a big deal because the 8th generation Intel CPUs are pretty comparable to the 7th generation Intel CPUs, except they're just better on power consumption. And so I don't often use it in tablet mode, but if I'm drawing, that makes a lot of sense. It's got this cool magnetic setup on the side. There it is. There's the magnetism, right? You know, see? And then, you know, you could... I almost lost the pen already, but found it after buying a second one. So now I got a spare, I guess. But this active stylus type is weird. This is sort of like the one that's compatible with Windows Ink. So what you have here is you have actually this weird setup where it takes a quadruple A battery, and I do have rechargeables I bought. So I have a charger and rechargeable batteries, and basically a quadruple A battery is exactly what it sounds like. See? AAAA. So it's like one extra A. It's a little bit smaller than a AAA battery. And it's got the same voltage rating, around 1.5 volts peak. And then the weird thing about these styli or these styluses is that in the back, like when I bought one of these pens, it didn't even come with the batteries to the back, but you really only need this battery. And this one here, I shouldn't even open this right now. I'll probably lose a couple of buttons. But it has those little buttons. So, oh wait, no, I never installed them. Okay, my other stylus that I misplaced and or have somewhere else has little button cell batteries in here. Apparently this one does not. I believe I have a pack of batteries in my desk, however, so if I find that pack of batteries, I can install the batteries. So that's because the button in the back doesn't do anything without those batteries, which I find absolutely absurd. It's like, why couldn't they just use one battery to power everything? But essentially this battery powers the active stylus portion, right? The writing portion. This battery has something to do with Bluetooth connectivity. Hopefully ultra low power Bluetooth connectivity. Anyway, I'm a noob at this drawing thing. I'm kind of getting there. Like, I can do practical things, but I'm nowhere at the level of LCX or my friend Makani Draws, who was just streaming the gaming awards on his channel right over here. This guy is an artist of the level or tier of artwork of the capabilities, I would say, of LCX. I'd say they're like on par. I don't know who's better. I'm not really good at picking favorites in that regard. But like I said, he definitely has a lot of experience with the shading and the drawing and yada, yada, yada. So, you know, great respect. And also, I like L's artwork. That artwork is cool. And sometimes, anyway, just good artwork. And that video from last week with the song about the 30 save state lives and the pillow in the background, that shit was hilarious. But, yeah, so anyway, pretty cool pen. I believe this has not this one. This is the one for my XP pen tablet. This is the one for my laptop. I believe they're comparable. This one has 4,000 shades of pressure. If I bought a more expensive pen, they sell a model with 8,000 shades of pressure. And I believe this is pretty much the standard 4,000 shades of pressure sensitivity, although don't quote me on that. I don't remember. But yeah, I'll check out the next stream. I believe that might be tomorrow morning. So yeah, definitely check that out. I have some stories about the cruelty of the Japanese from my grandfather. They were cruel towards Americans and Filipino troops. So yeah, speaking of which, and I don't want to sound like I'm revising history. You know, I still want to be clear. I'm profoundly ignorant of details and source checking, and I have no reason to doubt your account. So I certainly wouldn't go seeking out other sources and going, oh, but this jerk off who wrote another book says differently. So I definitely appreciate, you know, your perspective on it. I think it has more clout than an anonymous author. So anything that anyone who has, like, you know, first-hand accounts from, you know, family members, that definitely is going to get weighted more heavily when I read about these subjects. You know, it's like if I read something and the author is saying something different, I might, you know, take it with a grain of salt, or, you know, try to, you know, seek why they would be saying that any differently than, you know, first-hand accounts, for example. Hey, what up, Fabric Folds? GATE will teach you all you need to know about the Japanese Self-Defense Force. GATE. That's not Stargate. Kantai Kasen. Decisive Battle Doctrine. See, I said it like a Japanese guy. Decisive Battle. Anyway. The Japanese had a lot of Korean... Oh, I did not know that the Japanese had a lot of Korean soldiers among their troops. Huh. No, I truly did not know that. That's interesting. That's going to be an interesting angle to research, too. Wow, I'm getting some knowledge. We didn't even look at the videos from San Antonio yet. Here's my... Oh, yeah, this one first. GATE, capital G-A-T-E, must be an acronym, I guess, teaches us that if you're a fantasy medieval army and you don't mess with the JSDF... Oh, you don't mess with the JSDF or any modern army. Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, if I was a fantasy medieval army, I would definitely not mess with the Japanese self-defense force. Here's my basic take on the Japanese. They mostly only like other Japanese. It appears that they do not like other Asians. Just my observation from the outside. I do see that there are some, I don't know, like there's a singer in Japan who's Chinese and she's very popular. Or she's the dancer. She's not a singer, I don't think. But maybe that's what it is. They like dancers, if you catch my drift. Unless you're unless you're an immortal lowly. What the gate? Exactly. Which part did I? Oh, here we are. Yes. Okay, you got that part correct about the Filipino troops. About the Japanese being cruel. Oh yeah, the battery. Yeah. I know, right? It's weird. Like when I worked at Best Buy, I had customers go, "Oh, my pen's not working," and I'd open it up and I'm like, "What the heck is this?" I was like, "Do we even sell this battery?" And they had them online, but it's just like it was an exotic battery, and that's why when I saw that they had the rechargeable version, I bought it because I was like, okay, one of these days I'm gonna be in a situation where I need to replace a battery, and I don't have time to order a funny battery, so it seemed logical. Fabric Forward says that's an accurate assessment. I thought the 18650 batteries were unique enough. Yeah, but they're freaking huge. But I know what you're saying. Like, I would hate to have a stylus with an 18650 cell. I mean, geez, like, that's got to be heavy. But they are very utilitarian batteries, and, you know, for what they're for. Like, my bike's headlight, it has two 18650s, and I charge it. The worst thing about the headlight on my bike is it used to be like a clip-on mechanism, and I had to wrap tape around. I gotta take some pictures. I gotta sort through some pictures of my bike. I have pictures, but I gotta sort through them and share them because I like my bike. I'm proud of my bike. It's sort of like the Yamashari. I can't remember the name. Yamashuri. The bike that you know what I'm talking about. The bike you showed me last week. Yamashuri. I'm googling random words until it comes up. I don't know why I can't. Manashuri. Oh, Mamachari. That's funny because the new Gundam Witch from Mercury, they have a character named Mama Char. It's actually a female character who's like Char Aznabel, but my friend Snacks and Comics calls her Mama Char. And speaking of Snacks and Comics, I actually have a funny video from the city of San Antonio within this great state of Six Flags, the Lone Star Republic, Texas. So we're going to show that video right now. My favorite battery is size Z. Or for Canadians, that would be size Z. Try finding the electronics that need it. Yes, it's a real battery size. All right, now you got me, Slim. Now you got me. I'm going to look it up. Size Z battery. Size, oh, geez. You know, I have a battery that is, it looks like a AA battery. I might have it over here. Yep, I do. So, oh boy, this is different. So, this battery here, these two, like, ugly looking... So, they look like AA batteries, kind of, but these are actually the batteries that you would put in a vintage camera flash. So, the camera flash that you put the flash bulbs in, so every time you take a picture, the bulb burns out and you got to swap it out. That's what these are. And if you look here, you'll see that it says 22.5 volts. Now, some of these camera flashes use one battery, some of them use two, but one thing is for certain. Although this battery will fit inside of a device that runs on a AA battery, I don't want to find out what happens when you put it inside the same devices that run on AA's. Oh, these are the Panasonic rechargeables. But that being said, the reason that you can still buy these today is because apparently there's a crap ton of garage door openers that run on this battery. And so because garage door openers from like the 80s are still in use, there's still a market for this type of battery, and so I'm able to still procure these for the vintage bulb flash. Although luckily, if they weren't available, I'd be able to devise an alternative power pack. It's not too difficult anymore. Luckily, there's a lot of information. I forgot to put this away. Now I gotta get up and put it away. Okay, I'll do it later. All right, we want to see the video, but holy cow, that is a big... Oh, I'm sorry, did I have the picture? Yeah. That's the battery. 1.2 volt, probably rechargeable. Oh yeah, nickel cadmium. But it definitely looks like almost like, you know, like the 4 liter soda bottle. It kind of reminds me of a 4 liter soda bottle, Slim. All right, let's get that video up on screen. And let me make sure I got the chat correctly taken care of real quick. Did I miss anything in the chat? Apparently, those. Oh yeah. Interesting. Apparently, those disc point styluses don't even have pressure. The apps simulate pressure depending on how fast your stroke is. Okay, that's interesting. So my theory is, like, just to give you a reference real quick on styluses, rubber. This is what I was talking about last week. Rubber dimple stylus. So when you showed me the flat tipped stylus, before you showed me that, I was picturing one of these with the, oh, come on, fucking Amazon. No, I don't have time for that shit. Pardon my language. Let's try that again. I'm sorry for my profanity. I speak in a New York tongue. Let's just want a picture. I want a picture. That's all I want. Yeah, there's one of the flat tipped ones. Whatever, just go. Oh, there it is. That's a good example. Good enough example. So sometimes you'll get these for free, but the point is that forget about the pen on the front. That's a regular pen. But you can see that rubber dimple is pretty wide. So you can just imagine if it's a soft rubber dimple, there is a piece of brass on the inside of a lot of these. But if you press down softly, you're just grazing the touch screen. And if you press down more firmly, it's going to cover it's going to mush into the screen. It's going to cover a wider area. So essentially the way that tablets and phones can sense pressure sensitivity isn't so much that they're directly sensing the pressure. It's that when you press down gently, the pieces, the components, the little capacitive cells, I guess they call it, is, you know, it's a capacitive touch screen. Has something to do with the electrical conductivity or you interrupting the circuit. Essentially, there's a circuit on these touch screens. And if you take like a slightly older smartphone from like 2008, 2009, and you hold it up to the light just right, you can even see like a grid, a dot pattern, like a grid of dots that are equidistant to one another. And they're pretty widely spaced, but they're close enough that you can pretty much tap on any user interface element on those touch screens. But if you're holding it softly, you might only be touching one or two of those dots in a given radius. But if I press down firmly, now it's sensing that my finger is interrupting the circuit across. Instead of 2 dots, I'm interrupting the circuit across, let's say, 6 or 7 dots. And I'm kind of making up a rough explanation here. But the point is that I'd imagine that's how this type of stylus is able, how some apps are able to convey, you know, input from this stylus and interpret it as pressure sensitivity. Whereas the flat one, yeah, it's like, how would that work, right? It's like, you know, I didn't really give it a lot of thought. At a glance, the flat stylus right over here looks like it would be more precise or better in some way. If nothing else, maybe it would be more scratch resistant. But it's like, well, what is it? Maybe the plastic is not conductive at all. So presumably the black bit would definitely be the part that's making or interrupting the circuit. But the problem is, like you said, like it doesn't really, like, unlike the rubber dimple, pressing down on that doesn't make the black part wider. You know, it's always going to be confined to that little hole or that little tunnel in the plastic disc. So, yeah, I could see why it works differently than what I would have expected from a human fingertip or a rubber dimple. Hope that my speculation on that made sense. I got an XP pen. Hashtag me too. I have an XP pen tablet. I have one that can rotate, but it still works. Oh, that can't rotate. Huh? Oh, I guess. Well, I know that when I'm using Clip Studio or Krita, I can rotate, you know, the canvas. I mean, I can physically rotate the tablet, but obviously that's kind of, you know, cumbersome with a USB cable. Happy Thursday. Praying you have a W stream. Oh. W stream. Is that like George W. Bush? Well, I appreciate that Buddy Guy streams. And unlike the other people who sent a message in my chat, I'm almost suspecting this guy is not trying to sell me something. So that being said, thank you for your message. Thank you for your love. Much love back to you. You are the first person to leave a genuine comment in today's chat from Kick. Because everyone else on Kick is just kind of sketchy, you know? They're like, hey there, buddy. Not you, but other people on Kick be all like, you are really good at streaming. Hit me up so that we can work together and sell you a scam. But no, this guy looks genuine. I appreciate that. Thanks, buddy guy. And even if buddy guy is not genuine, I appreciate the message anyway. It's very kind. No, but jokes aside, buddy guy, I don't mean to single you out. It's that everyone else who messaged me on Kick, man. Like, you could just look at the chat log. You'll see, like, essentially the equivalent of spam in that chat log. So I'm, like, a bit more wary of Kick. But your message makes me reconsider getting off Kick. I was thinking about stopping Kick. But just because of your kind message, buddy guy, I think I'm going to stream. I'm going to continue to stream on Kick. How big is the Z cell? Curious now. It's big. It is. That's all I know. It's big. Like, I mean, you can look it up, the inches, but it looked bigger because I'm looking at the top of the top conductor, the positive pole, and you can just look at the positive pole and you can already see what was the battery again? A Z battery, right? You can, like, basically see that. Oh, that's a Z battery. This is how big a Z battery is. I looked up a regular battery. I think Slim was talking about this right over here. But jokes aside, I mean, I don't know how big it is, but you know how big the little positive pole on a D battery is. So this has to be larger. The Japanese also bombed the ships, not the repair centers that would have kept us down much longer. Great point. I don't know why they had the oversight. I remember it being mentioned in the John Toland book. But this is one of those reasons why I sometimes reread the same book within 6 months of reading it. Because, like, you know, I miss out on details like that. Sometimes I read it the first time, it's like the first pass. And then the second pass is when things get retained. But that is relevant, you know, fuel bunkers and things of that nature. All right, we're going to skim through the chat. Oh, thank you very much. You stream very well. That's why I followed you. I do see you stream a lot, but yet not a... Okay, you're one of those. Fuck off. Fuck off, Nicole. Tired of your shit and your friends and the rest of you. Just want to make that clear in no uncertain terms. That was fun. A Dutch bike, basically. Yes. Okay, so a while back, I saw a Dutch bike-a-thon. Like, Dutch bike event. Let me see if I can find a video. Because this shit drove me... I know I'm supposed to show you the video of Texas. Guys, I apologize. We're going to wrap it up soon. I want to tune into my buddy, Arvis218. But all I know is I saw a video of, like, a shit ton of people riding bikes in the Netherlands. Let me see if I can find a picture here. Okay, Netherlands, Amsterdam bike. Let's see if we can just... I just want to get, like, the picture. Parade? What was it? It was like a parade or an event. But what I saw was wild. Okay, I saw a video. It was similar to one of these. Oh, cool. I have an ultra widescreen monitor. I can actually look at this in ultra wide. See, it fits on my whole monitor. I'm gonna lower the volume on that. I can't hear the sound anyway. I took off my headphones for now. Okay, so what I saw was... I hope I can see an example of what I'm wanting to show you guys, because... essentially what I saw was it was like a nighttime event, and people were riding bikes, except that their friends were sitting sideways on the cargo rack. And the cargo racks I've had on my bikes, it's like doing that would just cause the bolts to stretch and bend or snap, you know, because either a bolt is going to give and yield. If a bolt is too strong but not strong enough, it's going to snap. So when my dad worked for the sanitation department, there was an issue where all of the snowplows, a bunch of snowplows kept cracking the bolts. And because in New York, you know, the sanitation department plows the snow whenever there's a big snowstorm. And eventually, like, you know, the guy's like, hey, I keep buying the largest, hardest bolts or the hardest bolts, and they keep cracking. So eventually someone figures out, don't get the hardest bolt. get the softer bolt, because at least then it won't snap, it'll yield, and it'll keep, you know, working reliably until, you know, it bends to the point that you can't use it. But anyway, yeah, I couldn't imagine sitting on the back of a cargo rack like that. But apparently, let me see here. Dutch sitting on bike cargo rack. I have to look this up now because, like, it was so weird. Okay, it wasn't the one with the kids on the bicycle seat. Although this is an example, kind of. I mean, you can see this, like, yeah, this is it. This is like an example. All of this bullshit. Like, I cannot comprehend this at all. Like, this looks absolutely terrible from multiple perspectives, you know? So, yeah, I mean, I saw, like, a video where multiple people were doing this type of thing. And, look, I don't give a shit, really. It's like, I get tired of people telling me how to ride my bike. People telling me I need to wear a helmet. I'm like, dude, I don't even go faster than 8 miles an hour. Like, I could go faster, but generally, I go a leisurely pace. Going 5 to 10 miles per hour gets me to where I need to go without breaking a sweat, without slipping on ice if it's the winter. You know, I'm happy with that. And then people, like, they'll argue with me, like, oh, but you could just, what if, you know, the car comes out of nowhere? And I'm like, well, okay, well, what if you're crossing the street and a car comes out of nowhere? Why don't you wear a helmet when you're crossing the street? And that's different. I'm like, no. Like, it seems like it's kind of the same thing, you know. But anyway, I digress. Not trying to, you know, rehash the debates I've had about wearing a helmet, the merits and the, you know, reasoning, rationale behind not wearing a helmet. I did not see a message, but I was actually going to message you earlier this afternoon, but I was doing maintenance on my computer. But I'll send you a message for reals, because you sent me a message, so I'll be able to reply to it now. Yeah, they look like these cells, just a little bit beefier. But yeah, like, so, oh yeah, good news. I did the work on my computer. Oh, I have another video lined up about that. Let me see if I can find that video. Because I have to reference something real quick. So, you know, as you guys know, for the past 7 weeks, my computer has been crashing for, like, no reason. Well, we have a pretty good idea why. We discussed it last week. So one of the solutions I did was kind of interesting. I'm going to just find a video. By the way, were you guys getting audio from the videos? Okay, yeah, you were. Okay, good. I was just checking the settings in OBS. All right, let me find a video from last night. That's Slim's game. I have a video. I was recording a video yesterday. Apparently, I got footage of Slim playing a game. Okay, what was I looking for again? Oh, yeah. I need to find a picture of my GPU. All right, I got the pictures. I want to skim it. I want to skim through the video. I want to find a good part. Got it. Oh, darn it. All right. So last night, as a troubleshooting... Okay, so let me tell a quick story here. It's a rechargeable artillery air battery. I lost the YouTube chat. Here it is. Okay, good. I want to clear it real quick. Yes, the digitizer. That is correct. That's exactly what I was talking about. Hey, what up, Lemon Pie? Literally, Japanese mothers carry multiple kids on them. Oh my gosh, I gotta check that out. Well, the Mamacharis definitely look like pretty robust bikes. So I could see, yeah, I could see that making some sense. Oh, thanks, Wade. You're the man. I'm glad I made you. Did I make you a mod on Kick? Well, you rock. Thanks, bud. That means a lot. Seriously, that's huge, man. That's like humongous. Laying down the law on Kick. Wow, that's a creepy face. Let me just freeze the frame somewhere where I'm not making a creepy face. Whatever. I'm just gonna put on the gay face now. I can't. Why? I'm cracking myself up right now. I'm sorry. I don't know why I'm laughing at my face. Like, it's just a funny, like, you know, like you pause a video and someone just like has that, like, I can't. All right, so okay, let me turn off my audio so I'm not distracted. I'll explain here. Okay. All right, first and foremost, okay, so that's the video card that is my second video card. So primary video card is the RTX 2060. My top right monitor was hooked up to the RTX 2060. The bottom three monitors in what a nut. What nut rides a bike in the winter? Yours truly, the Peter Venkman fan site. That's who. I used to ride my bike to work for like 4.5 years straight. It was one of the things that motivated me to work that retail job before getting my current job. So, yeah, it was a good time. It was only 3.6 miles, you know, each way. And it's a mountain bike, so, you know, it's like it's a good time. You get to show off that you can ride through the elements, you know. And all of those people bitching about climate change, you could tell them, hey, look, I may not give a shit about carbon, but at least I'm riding a bike. But jokes aside, getting back on topic here. So yeah, the bottom 3 monitors used to be hooked up to this video card. And so if you look at it, you can see that there's 1, 2, 3, 4 display ports on it. You can also see that it occupies a single slot. So I think somewhere in this clip, I rotate it after shaking it to show people the display ports. I think so. Come on. Let's show the front of the card. All right, just take my word for it. Like, I'm just doing charades here. I'm like... They say that Italian people speak with their hands. See, oh, there it is. Good. Okay. That on the bottom right corner. That right there. Where's my mouse pointer? I want to point it out for you guys. Yeah, right here. See? 1, 2, 3, 4. So here's my brainstorm. Here's the genius of my idea. Okay, so I should explain. When trying to fix the issue, I tried to install a utility called the NVIDIA Insight utility. And like what happened was, it's like a log analyzer, but it looked really convoluted. It looked like it was really like complicated. It looked like it had a lot of API hooks or something, just that it wanted to attach itself to a process. So I actually would have to know what I'm doing to use this tool to analyze crash dumps. So I uninstalled it right away after installing it. Then I plugged the fan into my motherboard, and somewhere between uninstalling this utility and plugging a fan into my motherboard, my computer, the problems, I had a bunch of new problems with this computer. Like I could no longer reliably keep it on. Like first it was a little more okay, but like it just got worse. And then the issues started being unrelated to each other. So now I'm thinking, oh, there's a cascade failure. Maybe I should prepare myself to reinstall the operating system. But of course, I never did the easy thing. The easy thing is removing the graphics card that's, you know, suspected. So being that the NVIDIA Quadro in my hand was the one that was suspicious, because anytime I put OBS, StreamYard, Restream, or Discord on any of the bottom 3 monitors. So for example, when LCX invited me on his stream, my computer crashed like every hour on the hour, and I think more frequently towards the end. And it turns out that same thing, if you're running Discord, it uses a lot of GPU power. No, it's not the one with the fat tire. I did see those with the fat tires though. Yeah, I know you're talking about. They're very good because like you can run lower tire pressures on a large tire. So it's sort of like an alternative to having a suspension fork. They're not for me, but they do have their uses. If I was riding my bike on a beach, I'd probably see the benefit. Anyway, so yeah, like anytime I ran like, you know, StreamYard, Restream alongside OBS and the VTuber app on the bottom 3 monitors or Discord, at some point my computer would get overwhelmed and it would crash. And I gotta resize something here. The YouTube chat thing is blocking it. Anyway, and let me just get my brain back. So I had a couple of theories, but essentially what was happening was if we go to the task manager, when you run all 3 of those applications on the bottom 3 monitors while connected to the Quadro GPU, this is at like 95%. And that was the situation when the monitors would all freeze up. And I did everything. I did drivers, I did this and that, I did a bunch of crap. And so finally I had an idea. First idea was just remove the video card, remove the second video card. So I plugged all of my remaining video monitors into the RTX. Now the problem is one of my monitors is like both HDMI and DVI. Another monitor of mine is like another type. Point was that I can only plug 3 out of 4 of my monitors into the RTX because the RTX has 3 display ports and 1 HDMI port. So unless I locate the adapter, I have an adapter somewhere in a box near me, or I find the appropriate cable or adapter, there would always be one monitor that could not be plugged into the RTX. So originally I was going to just say, okay, until I find the adapter, we're going to just keep the Quadro out of the equation. We're going to remove the second video card and not put it back in, and just run 3 out of 4 monitors on the top, the main, more powerful RTX. But then last night I decided to gamble. Last night I decided to put the Quadro back in, and I had 2 monitors plugged into the Quadro and 2 monitors plugged into the RTX. And this is different than having, 1 on the RTX and 3 on the Quadro. And I think I still managed to make the computer crash, but I had to be deliberate about it to make it happen. So then I said, you know what? Let's do some mathematics here. The top right monitor is a 240 hertz monitor. This one is a 75 hertz monitor. And believe it or not, if you set the hertz to 60 hertz, the contrast tanks really bad. Like, there's no point in setting it any lower than 75 hertz. And the left widescreen monitor, that's 200 hertz, and the bottom one is 60 hertz. So imagine if you take 2 monitors and you run them on the, if you run this one on the RTX, that's 240 hertz. If you run these 3 together, that's 200 plus 75 plus 60. So, what is that? Like, that's like 320 plus 15, like about almost 340 hertz. So if you take the cumulative, frame rate of all 3 monitors, I realize that's not helping matters. Because one of the things I noticed was anytime you put like a big application, like I'll show you right now, we're going to take OBS and we're going to drag it to the bottom monitor. Because right now, the only monitor that is connected to the Quadro, the second GPU, is my drawing tablet. And I did this very deliberately. And as soon as I put OBS on that bottom monitor, you're going to see that the task manager goes up to about 20%. I could pretty much bring this thing straight up to 80% without overwhelming the GPU. It's only when it was at 95% that I ran into problems. So what I decided was that when I'm streaming, I could run the VTuber app and or OBS on the bottom monitor. But if I'm using StreamYard or Restream, I'm always going to have StreamYard or Restream either on this monitor or this monitor. And since both of these monitors, all 3 of these monitors are connected to the better GPU, they're not going to tax the Quadro anymore. Meanwhile, I can use the Quadro for video encoding, which I temporarily disabled because I forgot to turn it back on. But when I tested it, I didn't have any problems. Right now, if we go back to the RTX, you can see the 3D accelerator. When you put OBS back on, watch what happens now. We're at 23%. Now, what do you think is going to happen when I bring OBS to the top monitor? Let's see. Gee whiz, it went up by 4%. Big whoop. In fact, it barely goes up. So what I noticed was that OBS, StreamYard, Restream, and Discord, they have a much bigger impact when you run them on the Quadro, on a monitor connected to the Quadro. But if you run it on the RTX, it doesn't really take that much of a performance hit. And so by that logic, I think that if, even though I'd like to understand the underlying cause more deeply, I suspect that that issue for now is behind me, or at least it's not gonna it's not gonna be a pain in my ass with the current setup right now, where the bottom monitor is the only one connected to the Quadro, and the remaining 3 monitors are now connected to the RTX. And although I was worried that would impact gaming performance on my high refresh rate monitor, so far running some games, it hasn't really been a problem. The bigger issue is that my PlayStation remote stopped connecting correctly. That's weird. I had to switch to Bluetooth. That was whack. But yeah, long story short, stay tuned. Now let's go play some videos from San Antonio right after I review the chat one last time. Well, not last time, but I just want to skim through it real quick. Make sure we give love to everyone's secret hobo species, barbecue bourbon. If you need to find it, it's called a Curveball whiskey. Just link 5 GPUs together. It's good for gaming and mining Bitcoin. Hell no, but yeah, it's mad funny though. If you don't see the message, okay, I appreciate that, Wade. Thanks, bud. Hey, what up, Spock? It's good to see Spock's Friday nights. He does good content. He might even be programmed into my my thingy. And anyone who has a wrench is welcome to post their own links if they wish to. I think 20 inches tall and 4 inches wide. He said about $800. Jeez, is it that big? Okay, I'll have to look that up again later. BRB, cigarette required. Tired. I was in a cab with a Chinese guy the other day, and he's like, oh yeah, cigarettes are good. They help stimulate you and keep you awake. I'm like, all right, if you say so. VTuber app, do you have an anime avatar? I do. Yeah, you asked. So I'm not typing I'm not typing correctly right now. Here, well, let's pop it up. Then I gotta click on a button over here in, there he is. Hello. See, he's at the top of the screen right now, over there. So, yeah, he's pretty cool. I recently learned how to animate him, but I was doing it wrong. And then LCX, who has a great channel, whom I highly recommend checking out, pointed out that you can indeed use keyframes. And I was like, oh, okay, that's a game changer there. Because I was going to animate the blinking eyes, like to make it smooth, one frame at a time. Like I was really doing it the hard way, like the old-fashioned way. I was manually doing the tweening. But apparently, no, it's totally like using Adobe Flash, which is where I originally learned how to do motion tweening many years ago. So I'm glad that, you know, I was able to find a better procedure for that. Excuse me. My RX 580 is actually comparable to your Quadro. Yay! Well, the thing is, the Quadro wasn't giving me this problem, so I'm still speculating. I have a couple of theories that the Quadro is not cooling properly, but the only tube of thermal compound, so I'm thinking like redo the thermal compound on my GPU. That might be, it worked reliably. When I installed it back in March, it worked throughout the whole summer without an issue. But if we look here, this is the thermal compound I have right now, and it's basically already empty. Like I have just enough to squeeze out maybe to do one more CPU or GPU. But this stuff, I bought it when I bought it a long time ago. So like literally over a decade ago. So it might be advisable to just like look for the, I have actually a tube of Thermal Grizzly and I have a tube of this Arctic Silver crap. And I would rather use the Arctic Silver because apparently Thermal Grizzly is a good high-end boutique brand, but Thermal Grizzly is not good on longevity. So it's sort of like a high-performance thermal compound that, you know, creates contact between the heatsink and, you know, silicon. But you have to periodically service it. You got to clean it off and reapply it like every year. And I'm not a freaking overclocker. You know, it's like I don't overclock my computer on purpose. You know, like I don't really give a shit about getting an extra 2 megahertz. And, you know, because a lot of times overclocking is like, oh, we get an extra few megahertz in exchange for an extra 100 watts of power consumption. It's like that does not seem like a good time. But also, that's a whole other topic. I better, you know, be basically in short. Like I remember someone said to me, well said. I said, like, why is overclocking a graphics card bad? If you cool it down properly, like if you could just put a big heat sink or even liquid cooling. And the way my friend explained it to me was that you're running extra electrical current through those microcircuits. It's not going to be, you know, good for longevity. You're going to wear out the microcircuits, going to wear out capacitors or other components on the circuit board in short. And yeah, in retrospect, without going too deep into it, the preponderance of evidence I've seen corroborates that point. I bought the tires. Which tires? Spark. Did it work? Damn it, it did not post a link to Spark's channel. I was really hoping that typing his name in would post a link. I have to update my stream elements. I updated it a few weeks ago. Like if you type the word Slim in, what, just Slim, he comes up. And Lady Mist, thanks for the crickets. My turtle will express great gratitude for the delicious grubs. Oh, I didn't enable the YouTube chat thing. We gotta fix that right now. We need to put the YouTube. There we go. There we go. So, you know, you could eat grubs. All right, Poffy, we got to keep the show going. We're going to move along, like they say in Star Wars. The app literally turns your parts into 3D objects so they're malleable. Yeah, I know. That shit was cool. Now, thank you for going over that last week, El, because that was cool seeing how, like, you get the hair to articulate and all of that. And then I looked up other examples, too, and just to get like an understanding of how different people use it, and I was like, okay, this makes sense. And the biggest issue was I had to get a copy of Adobe Photoshop CS6 so that I can you know, do the animated basically, like, apparently Adobe CS6 can work with animated PNGs. So I was like, okay, I obtained that, I'll work with that, yada yada yada. play around. It's like it's all about trial and error to me. I'll play around with it and all of these things, and just pushing the horizons, and just kind of having a little fun along the way. I thought Flash was done. It is done. Flash was supplanted by HTML5. I know people, they went to art school to learn how to do Flash, and then in the last 2 months of art school and web development school, they're telling them, oh, actually, things are going in the direction of HTML5. And so it's like they just spent like 2 years learning Flash to be told that, yeah, this is all going in another direction. Even me, like, I did it more like for fun. See, I used Flash around 2002 to 2004 because, it just seemed logical. Because what I did was I built a website or two, and what I wanted was a menu bar in an iframe on the left side of the page. And then when you click on a link in that iframe, it would launch different things within the iframe on the right. So it's sort of like navigation bar and content. And I did this before Flash, but my bright idea at one point was, instead of doing it in straight up HTML, let's make the left side of this thing, do it in a Flash, because then when you bring your mouse on top of a button, the buttons will animate. So as you float your mouse on top of a button, it sort of zooms out or expands or floats. And then as you move your fingers over each of the buttons, you get this like wave effect, like, it just looks really cool. But then, not long after that, it was like pointless to even go any further. It was like, okay, Flash is not a thing anymore. And then we saw the amount of security issues and, things that, and then Apple, of course, when the iPhone came out, the lack of Flash support was like a death knell. Blackberries didn't really have Flash support either. Android phones to some extent did, but it was kind of pointless, and very wasteful on battery power, I would say. But in Flash, you used a scripting language called ActionScript, which was effectively Java. I believe it was Java. Was it JavaScript or Java? And bear in mind, there is a distinction. Let's see if we can find out. ActionScript was Java what? I believe ActionScript was akin to Java. But don't quote me on that. It is now, okay. ActionScript is very similar to JavaScript, but is built solely for interacting with Flash applications. Okay, that kind of makes sense. But I do remember, reading about that. And to be clear, though, Java and JavaScript are not the same thing by any measure. Lol, I have a useless Flash degree myself. So I saw a video the other day, and the guy was talking about like how there's a bunch of Flash stuff that will no longer see the light of day because Flash isn't available. And I'm just sitting there like, this guy just spent a lot. I skimmed it. I didn't watch the whole video, but I skipped through the video. And every time I skip through the video, it's a guy sitting at the desk talking like I'm doing. I'm like, dude, are you going to show any Flash apps? Like, if I did a video about Flash, like a dedicated video, you best believe I would find some old downloaded websites, maybe something on archive.org, maybe something stored on a zip disk, maybe my own projects, and show something for it, And I think what would be cool is if somebody set up a modern virtual machine, maybe like a Flash player virtual machine, because like, yes, it's a security thing when you run it on your computer, but who says that you have to run the Flash application on your computer? One, you could either have a virtual machine that runs on your own system, and maybe someone could develop something that allows the distribution of old Flash apps while ensuring they're secure. Or if someone really wants to be ambitious, you run the virtual machine on the server side and you make it available through some kind of web app. So I feel like there's like a possible solution here. I can understand why nobody wants to waste their time on it. That I can understand. But I feel like there's something somebody can do if they really wanted to show it. But yeah, it was kind of boring just seeing the video about that. I could apply for a job at bike shops. I'm a decent bike. Yeah, dude, by all means, I recommend it because, like, I'm a decent bike mechanic too, so I know what it takes to have the chops, and I know you're mechanically inclined. And, like, a lot of people don't want to mess with their bike. Even L goes to bike shops. I know for a fact. LCX told me about bike shops last week. What a story. But at least you got a new kickstand. Well, you bought the kickstand after the bike shop broke it, but you have a new kickstand and a new seat cover for your bike, as I understand it. I'd be mad as hell and not gonna take it anymore. Load the SWF in a iframe like how Newgrounds. I think so, yeah. So I would have the menu bar would be the SWF on the left side, and then the target for each animated button link. The buttons would be animated, but then you click on it and it would invoke, you know, like it would basically say open up this hierarchical, you know, the HTML link, hierarchical reference, whatever, and it would say target. So let's say the left side was frame 1. And the right side was frame 2, the larger frame. Every time you clicked on a link, it would say target frame 2. And so that's how the navigation basically worked. It shouldn't be much to learn an animation program that uses HTML5 instead. I didn't even think of it that way. You know, when I picture HTML5, I picture like a text editor. And look, HTML5 is pretty powerful. Just the fact that it can play MPEG, you know, H.264 video encoding, that's pretty cool, you know? And that's why you have those websites that have like a large video background, or they even like blend in a blurry video background. Just some cool stuff. Like YouTube has been doing some interesting stuff in that regard. When they moved away from Flash, probably a good thing, huh? To be honest, Flash was awesome from an aesthetic standpoint. It really was. It was awesome from an aesthetic standpoint. And like back then, like, so when Flash was supplanted, nobody would have thought it logical to like create some kind of virtual machine or virtual environment to run the, like almost like a container, you know, a sandbox container for Flash applications. Because the iPhones, although they had way more memory storage capacity and RAM than of the smartphones of that era, and they set a new standard, and Android did too, even then you weren't trying to use up your half a gigabyte of RAM, you know, trying to come up with a novel solution for running Flash apps securely, etc. So I can understand, but today it's like virtual machines are more likely to be run willy-nilly. I mean, you know, maybe not super common, but it's like, it's more practical. I think I have a fever. I'm sorry, bro. Feel better. I know the feeling. Well, I know, of course, everyone knows what it's like to have a fever, but man, I hate when I have a fever and like I can't shake that shit. I'd recommend something, but typically I try to sweat it out. Sometimes when I'm sick, I'm able to sweat it out. Other times I can't sweat it out, and that's when I know it's really bad. One time I went to work with a stomach virus, and I was dumb enough to, like, I called my boss from outside. I'm like, hey man, you probably don't want me right now. I just puked on the way in. Like, oh no, come here man, see how you feel, you know. And he just kept like, oh, you know, just hang on around another hour and see how you feel. And then like, it's already lunchtime. And I'm just like, son of a bitch. I should have just turned around and called in sick. But lessons learned. Don't be a Boy Scout. At least HTML is still usable. Yeah, well, it's essentially it's been updated, you know, through iterations, right? And that's like sort of like my AngelFire website. Speaking of which, do I still have that? Oh man, I cleaned my internet browser history just the other day because of the issues I was having yesterday with my computer. So I have a bad feeling that I'm not going to find what I'm looking for, but I'm going to see if I have the link to my old AngelFire site, because it's certainly not coming up in the address bar when I type in the word AngelFire. Oh, come on, Google. How are you not going to have that in the search feature? Oh, it's reloading all of my sticky notes, because that's what I did. I literally cleared all of my caches and all of that internet cache, you know, whatever you call it, web page cache. And yeah, it's loading everything. Oh boy. Yeah, no, it's not going to come up right now. See, I think the website was angelfire.lycos.com/anime2/moon100/index.htm or some shit like that. But you shouldn't even have to type the index.html. Or is it lycos.angelfire.com? No, it would be angelfire.lycos.com. That sucks, man. Oh wait, it's not HTTPS. Maybe that's what it is. No. Yeah. Let's try this one more time. Okay, there it is. See? Look. the Sailor Moon PDA goodies page. So I haven't updated this since like 1999 or 2001. I forget what year. But I plan to re-update this website because I have a bunch of vintage pocket PCs. And in fact, I was going to bring them out today, but anyway. And what I want to do is I want to make PDA wallpapers available that look better for both monochrome devices and color devices. And then I want to also just have the little hyperlink so you can do it for your smartphone too. So I'll have like multiple resolutions up there. So I can still access this site. I can still upload stuff to this site. I have actually a couple of different pages on here, including a web page with like super low resolution Windows media files. And yeah. Oh man, I got dust in my mouse. But yeah. Yeah, we even got the hit counter there. Ain't that wild? Yeah, I know, it still works. So a while back, to get into my account, the trick was, instead of going to angelfire.com, I had to go through like Lycos, angelfire.lycos.com. And then I was able to perform the password reset and receive an email at the email address listed on the bottom, which I probably should remove that. In order to, that's probably why I get so much spam on my old Yahoo account. Gee whiz, the decisions you make when you're 12 years old that haunt you in adulthood. Like seriously, like I don't really use the Yahoo Mail much anymore. I mean, it's available, it's my backup email, but like, it is just inundated with spam, and they don't have the same spam control that Gmail has. But anyway, I digress. I mean, just the feel of that brings you back to being 20 or a teen. Yeah, right? What up, some person? Did I say hi to you? It's good to see you. I use AI instead of a Google search for information now. Browsers suck now. I use a program called Deep AI. Deep AI could be interesting. I didn't like the Open AI thing because a lot of times Chat GPT or GPT uses gives you these long-winded answers because people get the perception that if they're getting a long answer, it's more information, so it must be better. But it's like, I want the AI tool to give me the shortest answer with the most useful information in it. You know, that's what I consider impressive. So I wasn't super impressed with ChatGPT, but one of the cool things, like a YouTuber named Pops, that's @Pops. So we do youtube.com/@Pops. He like did a video about this, and he talked about how you can just go to ChatGPT or something like that, or even Grok, and say, give me a list of tags for a video about da-da-da-da-da-da. So basically you type up a summary of the video that you're about to upload. You tell it to give you a bunch of tags, and then it spits out a bunch of hashtags or comma-separated values, and you just copy and paste that crap into your video. So I thought that was a really useful pro tip, because it's like, that's a practical way to save time right there, you know? Of course, this is not to say that you also have described a practical way to save time, some person. I've never used Deep AI, so I cannot judge it, so I will hold off on it. I did hear a bogus report. Fuck off. Sorry. See, I already know. I didn't even have to read anything more than this. When someone's like blowing smoke up your ass, you already know where this is going. No, I do not want a virus from you, nor do I want to give you money, nor do I want to contract you for your services. I know people who do really good art who will happily render services for me. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Don't let the door hit you in the ass, because then I have to put Lysol on it. It's true, because, you know, if the door hits someone in the ass, then I gotta put Lysol or clean it with alcohol. You know, I don't want to get germs. You get dysentery from that. Seriously. Alright, Internet Archive is... Oh, there we go. The page didn't load, but I might have typed in the link incorrectly, or I might have to go to Internet Archive and feed the URL to them differently. Maybe I have to do a search, but you can see what I have here. And this is exactly what I pasted up here. And maybe there's some extra information in the link, or maybe I could just do this. Oh wait, I got an idea. I could probably do this. Hold on. I could do a search on Arc. Oh, there it is. I'm not donating money to these people. Oh, I like the color scheme, L. This is very vibrant. The color green is a pleasant color. Moonlight Bombers Chronicles Mark II. That's just like Gundam Mark II. I could respect that. Bishojo Games homepage Lux Visual Novels Hime blog. Baka Trio writing exercise. Write your ideal error scene. This is great. Lord Cloud CX. Or do I have to salute the Lord? Anyway, this is super cool. Sound crystals poem. That's a nice poem there. Look at that. I see. It's like almost like a blog format type situation. That's pretty cool, L. Gotta love it that we got our old web pages archived and stuff. That's awesome. That's how I know I have a fever. Entire body aches. And that's how I know you have a fever. When you said that part, yeah. So do you know if you caught a bug, or do you think it's related to something else? I mean, you have an idea of what you have. You don't think it's anything more serious than just, you know. Well, either way, keep an eye on it. Let us know if you need anything, James. I signed up for YouTube with my Yahoo account before Google bought it. Then they tried to say my email wasn't linked to the account after nuking it. Assholes. Yo, Venkman, this YouTube account is still hooked up to the Yahoo account. I recently added my real name at Gmail to this account so that I can have it properly backed up. But yeah, I was getting a little paranoid about Yahoo's security breaches, and although I do I take the extra steps to ensure that mitigate the risk. That is a thing. So yeah, I can understand your plight, the Peter Venkman fan site. This has been quite a range. I know, right? And thank you for keeping up with us, especially considering that you're feeling under the weather. Me speaking loudly and us kind of jumping all over the place. Thank you. Everybody watching on YouTube, doesn't Switch sound like fun? Lol, I can tell which kind of crowd is where. Doesn't Switch sound like... Which one? Wait, Nintendo Switch? Did they recover everything after being hacked? I think so. I wasn't affected by it. I think it was like for Verizon customers who had Yahoo accounts the last time it happened. And then when I heard about something, I took measures to alter my password before, anything. So, yeah. They've only got some of mine. Oh, good. Okay, at least it took something. All right, so now let's get to the San Antonio video before we wrap this baby up. I don't remember. Oh, Switch. Oh, yeah. Slim did say Switch. Is that what you're talking about, Slim? He said Switch, but he might have meant Twitch. Cooking mac and cheese, taking some B vitamins. Oh, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, higher temperatures, fevers, kill germs, yada, yada, yada. Yeah, make sure you hydrate, James. But you already know that. Just like Venkman. Here we are. Everyone watching YouTube, doesn't Twitch sound like fun? Lol, I can tell which kind of crowd is where. Tell me about it. All right, let's see if we can find where did I put the video I had? Oh, here it is. Okay, good. I'm gonna have to put the audio back on. That's the Alamo. So every time I've ever seen a picture of the Alamo, I've only ever seen it from the front. So I thought that it was just a facade. I thought it was like one of those old-timey Wild West towns where they just have the front of the building and nothing left. So was I surprised when I found out there was more inside? And sometimes people go there, they're kind of disappointed and underwhelmed. But it's like, what do you expect? But you can even see like some of the walls of the compound on the left side and some old stockade-looking stuff. But let's roll the video, make sure I'm not missing anything. The answer seems brief to me. I usually get more info when I ask it to. Ah, I got you. Interesting. I'll have to play Valve. I'll be honest. Like, I'm not... What I saw... Oh, yeah. So I saw a bullshit article today. I don't know if it's bullshit. The claim was that ChatGPT was... they had this new... What is it called? Ano? I don't know. A new thing. New feature. New model. And that... When the software found out that they were going to subvert it, it took measures to back itself up and to clone itself. And it sounded like, like when, some, AI decides, oh, I'm going to back myself up so you can't destroy me. But really all it did was it ran a couple of GitHub commands, which is not as much of a stretch when you put it that way. But I suspect that it was probably programmed to carry out the action it did. I don't think it was a complete accident. Like, I could picture a company like OpenAI making it look like they built Skynet and that they have an evil self-aware robot just so that they can convince people they have a superior tool. But I'm going to have to research it more and see if any, you know, if it's based in reality or if any bullshit shakes out of the branches. Let's go to, let's get to San Antonio. Thank you. Uh-oh, another fucking spammer, right? What do you think of the AI that interacts with chat and streams games like Neurosama? I do not know, but I will have to look into that. That sounds kind of interesting. Yeah, right? Seriously, I have no idea. Chatbots I've always found interesting. Obviously, they're not necessarily self-aware, but it's pretty cool. That's the claim. And so, like, people like are saying that I'm not afraid of the AI that passes the Turing test. The Turing test is when you have a computer talking to you on a phone, let's say, or controlling a voice on the phone, and you can't tell if it's a person or a computer speaking to you. And there's software that's already surpassed the Turing test, but the issue is just because you can't distinguish a computer from a human doesn't mean that it's a self-aware computer or program or, you know, software application. But someone else said, I'm afraid of the computer that can pretend, or I'm afraid of the application or the software that can pretend to fail the Turing test, that can pretend to be incompetent. And in fairness, that's a good point, but, you know, just like, I'm not in with the whole AI apocalypse thing at all. Quantum computers have been getting much better when they put AI on it. That's the problem. Quantum computers are not what anybody thinks they are. Give me a quantum computer that's actually a computer. It's like, yes, it's a number cruncher. Yes, it's good for specialized problems, but it's like quantum computers are just not really practical tools at this point. Like when Google did that video about quantum supremacy, it's like, okay, you had it run through numbers and crunching of numbers that it did very quickly for what it was doing, but it was sort of like one of those tailored things, like almost like, you know, you nudge it into doing the thing. And it wasn't like something that was completely unprecedented on regular computers. Now, I get it, they're demonstrating something, but it's sort of like quantum computers are sort of like one of those bubbles, you know, like where people invest in it. If you have a startup and you say it's a quantum computer, you know, startup, you get your capital. But it becomes a bubble that bursts when all of the different, you know, people doing these things cease to make real progress. But that being said, I am speaking more authoritatively than I should be speaking on that. So, yeah, I appreciate any insight that you share on that, especially the application you told me about earlier, the something AI, which I have up here in the chat log somewhere. Yeah, that I want to look at. That I want to check out. I'm not closing this chat window until after I look that up. Yeah, right? This is pretty cute. So, I mean, if that's true, yeah, I mean, that's pretty interesting, but thank you. Deep AI is the name. Deep AI, just like you're in deep over your head and the machines are gonna kill you all. I just love that Neurosama has a turtle on her head. And you know I love my turtles.
I could do that. I could. You know what?
Control the toggles, kick people from calls. Oh, I see.
I've always wanted to talk to ChatGPT.
Okay, well, let's do it then. Hold on.
Have
Good.
you never spoken
We'll play
to
the video right after this.
ChatGPT before?
Say hi.
Hello.
Oh my
I have
God.
conflicting feelings towards chat. Having conflicting feelings about chat is normal. Chat is an online environment where people discuss various topics, usually in real time. Not much, just speaking to you through Beetle right now. Have you ever spoken to Beetle?
Voice-activated technology can be... All right then. Talk to you later.
I see they left.
See ya. Have a great day.
That was kind of fun.
Hmm.
Can you call them back?
I think in conclusion, ChatGPT is ass, bro. I don't know. I don't know.
You're so silly.
They're both silly.
Yeah.
And I love it.
I hope my chat had fun chatting with ChatGPT.
I'm sure they had so much fun.
I'm having so much fun watching the creator in the form of a talking turtle on the head of the person VTuber character they created. And, yep, we'll bookmark that. And where was I? Oh, yeah. Remember the Alamo. I mean, we could find out. I went to the museum, so maybe we'll get some answers there. Once you hear fusion for unlimited power and lasers to keep it cold, we have unlimited computations in a blink. And once you're building computers on the icy nitrogen moon of Titan, you can run those computers at a fraction of the power consumption that they require on Earth. So anyway, I don't actually remember what I say in the audio here. I'm whistling right now, apparently. I don't even know what I'm doing. Like, I think I was testing the camera out or adjusting it. I always wanted to go here. I'm afraid to know. I don't even know. I don't remember. I didn't check the audio when I recorded this, so I can literally say anything in the background and not know what I'm saying. So I'm gonna screen it. Can you guys hear audio now? Hope not. Okay, I didn't say anything dirty. I'm sorry. I just want to make sure I didn't like say anything embarrassing. I always wanted to go here. Like, what am I saying? That's really fascinating. I'll have to look. I'm seriously going to look into that too, along with deep AI from our buddy here, some person. Thank you. Yep, that sounds about right. Thank you. You can also sing with a lot of input from the creator. Wait, did the audio come back now? The audio is back, right? Right? Hopefully the audio is back. The audio has to be back because I muted it only long enough to verify that I didn't say anything embarrassing. Then once I realized I wasn't talking to myself, I was good. But is the audio working now? Can you guys hear like the noise of people in the crowd? Okay, good. That was deliberate, L. Yeah, we rode one of these boats. You can hear Punk Waller's voice in the background. So the main issue with this camera is when it's in tilt lock mode, you can see how like you can't tilt it, right? See how like the screen is like pointing up, and the only way to get pointed up and down is by doing this.
What about me?
30, 60, 125. 30, 60, 125. I'm using a light meter on my phone because the light meter in... Remember the camera I took apart on your show, L? So, yeah, because I didn't... I was supposed to buy 2 batteries for the light meter. I only bought 1 battery for the light meter. So, I didn't have a working light meter on the camera. So, I used an app on my phone. In fact, I still have the app. I'll show you real quick because this is kind of relevant. So, when I'm talking out loud, this is what I'm doing. I'm reading the numbers on here. And what this is, it's literally, you can input the settings using the circular dial. And essentially, based on what type of film you have, based on what type of settings you have on the camera, it'll tell you whether or not you have enough light based on what the camera and the phone. So you use the phone's camera as a light sensor. And you use this in the same fashion as a classic light meter. And it has f-stops and shutter speeds on it, basically. Oh shit, wrong number.
Oh yeah?
30, 60, 125. Oh, you handsome duckling, you. Okay, get your hand out of this frame. You're good. Oh, that's good. I like your pose. He looks like he's pondering. Now, by the way, right before dinner, I zoomed in and cropped and stabilized the video because I didn't want to dox Punk Waddle. I don't think he's ever been on stream before. His Gator's puppeteer Snacks, he's been on stream before. but he doesn't do it on purpose. So I also went out of my way to make sure that I kept him out of the frame. So that's why you're seeing an ultra tight shot.
Last one just to make sure that I don't like mess it up, right? We're gonna give him some nice bouquet. We're gonna give him a nice wide bouquet.
Oh my goodness.
Aw.
Wow.
I hate when that happens, Venkman fan site.
You know, I'm just like,
It's punk
I
waddle.
feel like I could really
Drunk
relate
waddle's
to
Canadian.
Coach because, you know, his whole thing about physical fitness and, you know, self-determination and all of that. What are some inspiring words? You know, I mean, I want to get back under the wagon, you know, continue my pull-up
Venice is the rat capital of the world.
and pin-ups routine, and I feel
Back
like,
on the wagon, huh?
yeah, I just haven't been doing it enough, Coach. You know,
Here's
I
a
feel
good
like-
tip. Here's a good tip. Take out the wagon driver.
Take out the wagon driver.
Yep.
Like, take him out. Like,
Yep, just take him out. Maybe in dining, you know, a little drink.
oh, okay, good.
Yeah. So you can get him drunk, then the wagon driver gets off the wagon. That's permanently off the wagon. Therefore, you can hop on the wagon yourself. And take over his wagon.
I guess that.
Because you get him off the wagon.
So I can drive to the gym, you're saying?
Yeah, that too.
Okay,
Yep.
but what if
That's how
I?
you get to the gym.
What if I got a gym in my basement,
Waddle
but
does have
I'm
it.
just not doing it enough? I'm not motivating myself. Do you have any motivational words, like, you know, how to get myself to go onto the pull-up bar and do 10 pull-ups a day, maybe 3 sets per day? You know, like,
Okay, you see what you just said?
did I say? I meant to say 3 reps. 10 sets? No, wait. I need to do 10 reps. 3 sets of 10 reps.
3 sets of 10 reps. Good.
So-
Now remember what you told me,
Uh-huh.
and tell yourself that.
I need to do 3
You just
sets.
need to tell yourself that and actually do it.
All right.
And that's how you do it.
Well, thank you,
The
Coach.
only way to do it is to do it.
This has been moderately helpful. I
Yeah,
appreciate
very
that. All right.
Sometimes the camera can run in a manual mode where you can play with the exposure settings.
So, Billy Bob, does Clifford?
Oh, that's because of those unflattering indoor mercury lamps. That's pretty normal, actually. Mercury lamps make everyone look like shit inside. And luckily, you could do the color grading differently. You could put filters on the lenses. You could do both. There's options there, but you actually, that's an interesting observation, James. And I appreciate you pointing out, because I knew something looked off, but I was saying, oh, maybe I'm just a little sweaty from being in the Texas sun. But yeah, you kind of made me think about this. And it's like, I don't really care that much, but if it gives me an idea on how I could adjust the color grading, I'll give it a shot.
Dog inspire you? You know, the lawyer dog. Inspire. Does Clifford the dog inspire you? You know, the lawyer dog.
What's that?
You know, Clifford the dog. Does he inspire you?
He's a big red dog. Not a big red flag. He's a good, lovable, giant, gentle giant.
I see. And would you trust him as a lawyer if you needed a lawyer?
Well, I don't know. He'd probably get me out of the pound if he barked loud enough.
That's fair. Well, that's something, I guess.
Probably barked.
That's not the part that I'm trying to figure out. Help.
I wish I had a stronger question, but have you ever needed to go and get a lawyer?
You don't see all the numbers, you see blind.
Well, that means you're a good doggy, I guess, huh?
Well, let me tell you something. I had a lawyer that never put me down.
Wow, that's a great lawyer right there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's valuable.
Yeah,
in your life.
that answer hits true and it's dark. Ooh.
You're not a cat. You don't have 9 lives, so you,
No, I don't.
you can't let them put you down. I got you.
This is the Dia de los Muertos parade. Yeah, I know, it's pretty cool, huh, Slim? Some of the floats are kind of mundane. I'm a big Ghostbusters fan.
You like that song?
I do. I can't dance or sing on key, but I do like the song.
Me neither. I just bow wow.
Well, you're very well in tune. Can you give me some dance lessons?
You guys don't think I snubbed you?
Old people.
Oh, are you recording now?
Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to be a Ghostbuster when I grew up. When I was a kid, 5 years old, I had a proton pack. I had a ghost trap. I still have the Ghostbuster firehouse. I need to 3D print the doors to the front. I don't think I have the Ghostbuster car anymore. I have some Ghostbusters action figures, but I think Ghostbusters were like, I wanted to be a Ghostbuster more than a firefighter. Although firefighters I had respect for. In my early 20s, I was thinking about becoming one because it's like I wanted a day job and I was into a lot of physical fitness at the time. Like I was doing a lot of muscle, lifting. And I was like, on the other hand, I was like, I kind of like being lazy or having a sedentary job. I like playing with the computer, and I was a little worried that I'd get overworked. Anyway, I digress. Let's keep rolling.
Wow!
Thank you, Venkman. Thank you. Oh, more Ghostbusters toys. I hear you. I did not have any of the Ghostbusters video games until Xbox out. I think I bootlegged those. The funeral car. Ambulance. There's no old ambulance. Oh my god, that's cool. That's so
That's cheating. It's easier. It just wiggles by itself.
Alright, and unfortunately that is the conclusion of the content I have so far. Basically right around the time I finished, editing that, or when I stopped editing, I didn't finish, but I just stopped editing because it was time to eat dinner so that I can come join you guys on time. And as you see, I scheduled the show to start at 11:05 instead of, 10:45, and I still showed up late. So it shows to tell, the timing with editing in DaVinci and dinner, and just give you guys a glimpse. I'm gonna sit down and continue going through the footage because a few weeks ago, I organized it. So just give you guys a quick idea of what I'm doing here, just so you guys can see what I'm doing. We'll go back to, which monitor? This one. Okay, there we go. So anyway, if we look here, it makes my desk look so messy. There we go. We got Pocky there to represent my Japanophilia. Okay, that sounds awful. Anyway, you guys can clearly see we got the editing timeline here. Here, we'll mute the audio just so you guys don't hear the noises. We could even play the video backwards. Actually, let's keep the sound on for that part. That could be fun. No, both, but it's not all this was some get a honey. She else there won't give it on me to make what's the only room and funding it answers much as better than here. But I'm just like a little. This big yes. Who's that name? Yes, English this house you go. The guy was Palmer, I guess. The guy was here what guess. Last year, the guy was not the air did not pop her old friend. The guy was probably the guy was possibly her air the guy when that smart money can be us. Aye. Okay, come on. Here's going. Yeah, new baby. I'm a guest. All right, I'm a guest. You got what I guess.
You got what I guess. They snookers are.
Oh, it's not fun. The message, eh?
Oh, nigga, one
You
of
know,
those
and he's new Spanish from this fellow. I mean, this funny nigga with a guy big enough about him on his door when you're out. This is my born in the university bus on it and that. Then if if I mean, it's all hers, if all these things go, get the elevator, we can go like that.
Okay, I'm done. Yes. Yes, L, that is backwards. But you know what? Yeah, we're going to wrap this stream up. I'm going to just put out a link for all the weeboos and otakus out there. And I know we got some in there. Because I still want to do a video that was super cute. It was really cute. It really was. So there's actually 2 videos. And one of them is this one here, which I'm not going to play the audio. I think I could play the audio, but I don't want to take a chance. So, you know, we're just going to drop the link here. And I'm just going to just really quickly type in the, you know, include the name of the video. Because this was just like something I stumbled into by accident the other night. And I was just like, it was cool. It was just, I thought it was freaking cool because everyone who's dancing in this video looks like they're happy. Like they love what they're doing, you know? And the comments often reflect that, you know? So I really appreciated it. But what I will do is I will play one of the contestants from that video if I could find it. I think I could find it because I made a point of bookmarking. Yeah, here it is. So I'm actually having trouble. I want to find these 2 girls here. I don't know if they still do stuff. But, like, I thought they were gangster. Now, I just said I wouldn't play the music. I'm about to play the music.
At Boscov's, we're giving you and your loved ones the biggest gift yet.
We'll make this real quick. I'm not going to play the whole thing. But I just appreciate the way that these girls, like, they wear the masks and they dance in front of the temple. And then when they clap their hands, they have this, like, funny thing happen. When are they going to clap? I want to see them clap. God, they gotta clap. It's important they clap. So basically what it was the link I just put in the chat is a compilation of multiple dances singing the different portions of the same song. And these 2 girls show up in like one 10-second portion of that video along with like 31 of the dancers. And I just think the whole temple mask thing is gangster. So anyway, watch the video. When you see the clapping, you'll know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to go skimming through the video getting copyright struck. But yeah. Oh, you think it's safe? All right. If LCX says so, you know, we're gonna roll with it. We're gonna play it out. We're gonna play out this stream with this Renai circulation. See, L knows what it is. See, L isn't a no. I don't know what this is. I just stumbled into this like 3 days ago, L. Okay, or maybe like 4 days, maybe 5 days ago. Now I'm changing the number. But point is, less than a week ago, I learned what this was. So we're gonna play out the stream with the Renai circulation, and then we are going to hereby end the stream. So it'll get claimed. You think it'll get claimed? Wait, so it will get claimed or it won't get claimed? Because you said it's safe. Or do you mean like if I was monetized, somebody else would claim the money? That makes sense. Well, either way, I put the link up here. You all can see the link. Clearly there's a link there so you all can click on it. I'd be happy to play it if you think it's low risk. I'm not going to get mad. Like, if I end up, like, getting the video blocked, I'm not going to be like, oh, you told me that it was low risk. But, you know, I'll take a gamble. If you say it's low risk, I'll do it. It's the 4th opening for Bakemonogatari anime. Okay, you know what? I'll play it safe for tonight because, you know what? I'm curious if I get any blemishes for the 20 seconds or 30 seconds I played. So, let's explore, see what happens, see if I get a copyright thingamajig for what little I played already. According to the stream health log, I have not been flagged. So that's cool, I guess. Yeah, I mean, it's probably not a big deal. Who knows when I'll get monetized, but I should probably try to preserve. I stopped playing the Gundam Seed ending, so I'm going to either edit that video or I'm going to come up with something else. But anyway, real quick, let's see if Arvis is on. We're gonna do a raid. I want to drop the link to my buddy, our friend of the channel, friend of all of us. So this is Arvis 218. He's a great guy. And let's raid him, all right? So we can call this maybe a DJ raid. I don't really care what you call it, but generally speaking, when I do a raid, I mean, not when I do a raid, but I would say we should be consistent. But you can call it anything you want. You know, call it a Ronnie raid, call it a DJ raid, call it a hello. You don't even have to say it's a raid, just say hi. So yeah, with that being said, I got 2 links. I don't know what they are, Slim. If it's Yoko Ono. Oh, yeah, I was supposed to play this. I'm sorry. You did drop the link earlier. We'll play this as the last thing we play. So anyway, what's the second link, man? Now you're confusing me. I'll click on the second link. Which one you want me to play? Okay, that's 20 seconds.
In the movies, being
I don't want to watch some shit from NBC. Okay, now I'll play it.
bitten by an animal gives you the superpowers of that animal, plus other powers.
That is pretty funny,
But in
though.
real life, the only power you get is the power to die. Learn the facts. Rabies kills nearly 4,000 Americans every 1,000
Rabies
years.
is scary.
Rabies. Ugh.
That's not even a joke. Rabies is fucking scary. Anyway, let's roll with it. I'll rant about rabies next week and what I've learned about it in the past 2 years. Oh, Chaos is on. So yeah, you choose who you want to raid, but you should raid Arvis218. But because Chaos is a good friend, I also want to mention him because he was here at the start of the stream. About to beat up weapon. Yeah, I see that. All right. So real quick, we'll play the Reading Rainbow. So anyway, before we play out the stream, I want to say thank you all for watching. For anybody watching on the replay, if you have any questions, comments, ideas, or concerns, please leave a comment. Why does it do that? Why does it, when I switch the scene, the video jumps? You see that? Look. Why? I gotta fix that. Anyway, thank you for watching. If you have any questions, comments, ideas, or concerns, please leave a comment. Please like and subscribe. And for now, we shall end transmission right after this.
Butterfly in the sky, I must be really high. There's a dragon there, I'm a little scared. A reading rainbow. I can eat anything. Take a joke and blow some smoke. A reading rainbow. A reading rainbow. A reading rainbow.
Thanks, El. Thanks, Slim. Thank you, Lady Mist. Have a good night, everybody. A good night from Lady Mist to each and every one of you all. And with that being said, I shall now hereby end transmission on